Hello and welcome to the 2016 Men's Little 500, the 66th running edition of this great race. And isn't it a beautiful day for a bike race here at Bill Armstrong Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. I'm Sam Rumson from WIOX along with Kevin Highland. And Kevin, we had a picture-perfect day yesterday for the women's race, 100 laps. Today, 50 miles, 200 laps around the cinder track right behind us.
Not only was it a picture-perfect day for a race, much like today, Sam, but it ended up being as good of a finish as we could have expected. The storyline going into it, would the teams at the front's depth really be able to bury the teams that had the sprinters? That wasn't the case yesterday. Phoenix, with a masterful performance out of Tabitha Sherwood, was able to get it done at the finish.
These 33 teams being introduced behind us right now, a sea of colors in the stands, and we're joined by Stephen Gomez as well, a 2014 champion with the Black Key Bulls. And it's a great race today, and there's a lot of contenders out there, including your former team, the Black Key Bulls, who won the Spring Series, as well as the Cutters on the pole in the green jerseys.
That's right, Sam. As you mentioned, the favorites we're kind of looking at earlier on in the race is Black Key Bulls, SAE, and Cutters. I think today in the race there's two separate groups. You have the deep teams who are going to want to look for a fast race, and you have teams with a really good 1-2 punch who are going to be vying for a sprint. So it'll be interesting to see how those two groups race separately and try and strategize differently.
And you speak of the 1-2 punch, Stephen, and no better than SAE in the pink jersey with the Krahulik brothers who finished first and second and missing out. And Joe finishing first as just a sophomore in ITTs.
Like you said, the brothers Krahulik, just a force to be reckoned with in today's race. It's going to be fantastic to see them two on the same squad this year. Joe originally on Black Key Bulls and then was recruited over by Andy to join SAE. Joe, one of the strongest riders in the entire field, like you said, Sam. Top individual time trial time, top at missing out, only as a sophomore, so he's one of the better riders in the race. And if they can get Joe to the final lap, SAE feels very confidently that they can bring home the title. It'll be their first title since 1963.
That's quite a long time for the brothers of SAE. But before we get going further with the men's race, let's take a look back at yesterday, the final lap of what was a great sprint between 5 teams, and Tabitha Sherwood from Phoenix Cycling got the victory. Let's take a look back at last lap from yesterday.
That's Chrissy Bignall for
Chrissy
Delta
Bignall,
Gamma.
excuse me.
Sherwood, ITT champ, missing out champ. Let's see if she can tie it all together with a Little 5 championship.
And Chrissy
in her
is going. Delta Gamma making a move on the back stretch.
Bignall to the outside, coming down to the final stretch of turns.
And Tabitha is
Sherwood
on her
going
wheel.
to second. Here they come, final 2 turns. Tabitha Sherwood on the outside, Kristen Bignall on the inside, coming to the checkered flag. It's side by side on turn number 4. Who's it gonna be? Tabitha Sherwood will take the victory for Phoenix Cycling. The women's Little 500 won on the last yards. Tabitha Sherwood with the victory over Kristen Bignall. What a thrilling sprint that was as Tabitha Sherwood pulling out the victory. Steven, you talked to her, and she said she didn't remember that last lap.
Absolutely. Phoenix Cycling has successfully rose from the cinders in only their second year. It really came down to a 1-2 punch between Tabitha Sherwood and Kristen Bignall, and it's very, very challenging to win this race, coming out of second position, coming out of turn 4. So it really was an impressive win by Tabitha Sherwood. So congratulations to her and the Phoenix Cycling, and as well as Delta Gamma on a well-earned second place.
And as we talk about your former team starting on the outside of the front row, Black Key Bulls, they won the Spring Series Team Pursuit. They got 4 guys in the top 13 of ITTs. Talk about the importance of the Spring Series as you come into the races. Team Pursuit is especially one that might signify race success.
Absolutely. If you look back at the historical data, Team Pursuit is the most correlated to race finish. So Black Key Bulls winning that is a really good indicator of race day success. And not only do they have success at Team Pursuit, they put 4 individuals in the top 13 of individual time trials, signifying they have probably the best depth in the race. But for them, the big question mark is, do they have the sprinter that can win against someone like Andy Krahulik or Nick Theory?
Mm-hmm. And Kevin, one of the members for BKB, the first freshman to race for BKB since now race director Jordan Bailey races him as Xavier Martinez. He has an interesting background.
Xavier Martinez does have an interesting background. Really the only true freshman, first race guy on any of the relevant teams in the field today. Xavier Martinez, a miler, a Bloomington hometown kid, finished 4th in the mile in Indiana last year. And be able to come on the bike as a freshman for BKB is not something that happens very often. BKB looking great. I know Gomez is appreciating the white uniforms after winning Spring Series. So Xavier Martinez is going to have a chance to shine today for BKB.
That's exactly right. Another team to talk about, the defending champs, is Nick Torrance, graduating after last year's sprint, a really exciting sprint.
at the end of last year's race.
Absolutely. Nick Torrance won the sprint by about a quarter wheel over Black Key Bull Spencer Brockle, who is also racing today. Nick Torrance rode probably one of the best sets Little 500's ever seen. I think he rode the last 17 laps by himself. He helped bridge, and he rode very, very smart and savvy in a well-deserved victory for SIGAP.
All right, right now we want to toss it to the fourth member of our broadcast team. Down in the infield is Pam Lobig. Pam, take it away.
Hi, this is Pam. I'll be reporting to you from the Cinders today, trying to get right into the action and talk to the coaches and the riders when we can. And right now I'm here with Valentin Totoro. He's coach of the Black Key Bulls. Val, you guys are in white. Seems like you had a pretty good spring series. Can you tell us about how the season's been so far?
Sure, yeah, it's been a long season. Our program has advanced over the years, and these guys are putting in incredible miles. Really proud of them. And, you know, our third and fourth riders, you can see we're in white this year, so the depth is there. The strength is there. Every other team out here that has weak 3 or 4 riders, their legs are going to hurt because our 3 and 4 riders are going to crush them.
And not only do you have the depth, but you've got Spencer Brockle back, who just barely missed out in the sprint last year.
Yeah, he's hungry this year. Very, very hungry. He's got a fire inside him, so it will not happen again. Trust me.
So what is it that you're afraid of today?
Not afraid of anything. This is a team that has no fear. This team has absolutely no fear. They're dedicated. They've watched every single race tape there is in the world. They are ready. They know every situation, how to respond, where to be. They're good to go. No fear.
No fear from the Black Key Bulls. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thank you, Pam. We'll be checking in with her throughout the race, whether there's a crash, track conditions, interviews throughout the race with key contenders and coaches. And it'll be a fun day for Pam on the infield. Pam, of course, former coach for DG, former race director, and rode for Psychedelics back in 2006-2008. Now we are joined by a special guest of 33-1, Sam Beiseisen. Sam, how are you today?
It's race day. Could not be more excited to be here with you guys, with all these people here. This is my favorite day of the year.
The old Tall Trio gang back together.
It's funny how it all comes back, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And Sam, we had a really exciting race yesterday. Just your general thoughts on the women's race for what we saw yesterday at 100 laps.
I thought it was a fantastic race, and I think the ending did it justice. After seeing Tabitha Sherwood work as hard as she did for 4 years, honestly, it was a matter of when it would come to her, and finally she was given that opportunity where it came down to a sprint, which is exactly what she wanted, and when she was put in a situation to win the race, she did. And I think we saw a cyclist win the Little 500 as opposed to a team. I think Phoenix itself was strong, but Tabitha Sherwood proved to be just the class of the field.
Sam, yesterday it really came down to a sprint at the end. So if a similar situation were to happen today, how big of a group do you think could legitimately break away from the field like that?
You know, that's really interesting because we've seen the last two races, at least 4 or 5 teams kind of have a chance to put themselves in a sprint. And I think we could see it with 6 or 7 teams this year, depending on whether or not the top 3 teams in the race, the BKB, Cutters, and SAE decide to spread the field a little bit, because I think all 3 of those teams are more than capable of turning this into a 200-lap sprint, more than it is a 200-lap marathon. If that's the case, it would be a smaller field. But I think if all the teams can kind of work together to keep the pace relatively consistent, relatively moderate, we could see as many as 6 or 7 teams there. And if that's the case, then that brings in the Fidelts of the world, where it's fifth-year seniors like Rob Lee potentially putting it out there and trying to make some moves at the end. And as we saw 2 years ago, you never know what a crash could do at the end of the race to make everything even more exciting. So we could see a huge field at the end.
Who are some of the dark horse teams you expect to be up there towards the end of the race that maybe didn't qualify as well or participate that well and missing out?
I think, in particular, SIGAP, the defending champions. I know it's kind of hard to consider them a dark horse, but Charlie Hicks
They're
now
22nd.
Now in their second now Charlie Hicks in the second race. I think Charlie performed relatively, I guess, underwhelming in the spring series. I do think he is one of the best riders in the field. I do think if they can manage him well, they could surprise some people. It's not really a dark horse because Wright has kind of been a proven team in qualifying in these last few years. But I think Wright Cycling with their sophomore Riley Figg, who will be their sprinter today. Riley Figg, kind of an unknown rider. He performed really, really well in missing outs, getting into the championship race when really nobody expected him to, at least from the outside looking in. I think Wright could surprise some people today and maybe mess around and get a top 5 that's kind of been eluding them the last few years.
Yeah, and Sam, focusing now on the pole position, the pole sitters, cutters. Nick Thierry last year was right in the thick of things on lap 98, lap 99, and just faded away on that last lap. Really surprised a lot of people. Top 3 finish in ITTs this year. What have you heard from him? What have you heard the buzz surrounding cutters, and do you think he could bounce back this year?
It's funny, walking into the track today, I always like to check the temperatures of some of these lead teams. And just talking to a few different guys, you know, hey, what do you think? What do you think? One of the names that kept on coming up today is, I don't think Nick Thierry wants to go out quietly. I think this kid has something. And that was something multiple teams were kind of mentioning today. I think he's one of those riders that you talk about special guys that can kind of take over a field. Nick Thierry is one of those guys. He's got a good, strong team with him this year. And really, you know, Cutters hasn't made as much noise these last 2 years. That doesn't happen very often. So I think Cutters might be a team to mess with today.
They're 12-time champions. They won 5 in a row from 07 to 11, the most dominant team in the history of the race. Before we let you go, Sam, we got to get a prediction from you. Can you give us a top 3 or top 5?
Yeah, you know what? I actually, and this is dumb to pick favorites, but I think the Black Key Bulls get it done today.
Okay.
I think
Steven would love to hear that pick.
that's what it is. Gomez. I'm just here to make Gomez happy. I think
Pandering to the crowd.
I think BKB wins it. I think SAE finishes second. The Karulik brothers are going to put on a show today. And then just for third, because I was talking them up a little bit earlier, I think Right Cycling maybe sneaks in and gets a third-place finish.
All right, Sam Beisheiser from 33-1. Check out his coverage, 33to1.com. What do you got coming up after the race?
Just hanging out with all these riders, man.
All right.
Just having some fun.
All right, it'll be a fun one, Sam. Thanks for checking in with us today. Right now, we're going to send it to our first break of the afternoon here on WIUX and IUSF's coverage of the 2016 Men's Little 500.
The Bicentennial Campaign is exciting because it's 200 years. It's exciting because it's the largest campaign we've ever had. It's exciting because it's focusing on enriching the experience for the students.
Why it's special to the Student Foundation is there is a $10 million portion dedicated to IUSF. It's the first of its kind for us, and we're incredibly thrilled and so excited to be a part of it. But what it's going to help us do is to continue to shape students' lives for all of the years to come, for alums to ensure that other students get to have that great experience that they got to have, and it also helps us stay better.
Ways to get involved in our campaign are plentiful. There'll be greater or lesser amounts of money that are given person to person, but the fact that they're active in advocating for the next generation in terms of creating opportunity, that's exciting. And that's what the Bicentennial Campaign gives us an opportunity to do. That is reactivate, re-encourage, reinvigorate our alumni constituency in support of what the principles of the institution are.
It's so important to raise these funds because we're going to need it to continue our great efforts in leadership development, facility needs to make sure that the Little 500 stays as safe as it can, to make sure that our track looks as good as it always can, to keep our riders' safety first and foremost, and also to have the space that we need for the demand with our students. There's also a scholarship component to that, and that's going to make sure that we continue to do the great work that we do of giving scholarships back to students, because that's the heart of what we do at the IU Student Foundation. And an endowment that's going to keep us going forever.
Of course, we're a public university, but a lot of the fantastic resources we have are given to us because of alumni donors.
The generous support of our donors are what create the story that is IU.
Our alumni body is about 600,000 people. Those 600,000 people, about 13% are donors. One of those elements is the alums who are part of the Student Foundation program. Of that program, contrast this with 13%, 63% are donors. 63%. This is an unheard of number.
All the beautiful landscaping, the sample gates, things that aren't even academic are given to us, but then all the smart boards in your classroom, you know, all the iPads, all the computer labs, all of that is made possible because of giving back to the university and enhancing our experience as students, because they had a great experience.
And so they just want to see the betterment of IU, the betterment of the Student Foundation. They want to see people continue to grow, and they want to leave it better than it was when they were here.
Philanthropic dollars can be invested without a worry of a bottom line profit, because the bottom line profit in this case is going to be whatever that person you gave opportunity to contributes to society. That's exciting.
And welcome back to the 2016 Men's Little 500, the 66th running of this great race. 200 laps, 50 miles behind us on the Cinder track. 33 teams competing for glory today. I'm Sam Rumsa along with Kevin Highland. Stephen Gomez, the third member of our team. And right now we're going to toss it back down to the infield mic with Pam Lobig. Pam's got an interview with SAE. Pam, take it away.
Now, do you feel a little bit marked today, like teams will be watching you?
Well, we got 4 strong riders. All 4 guys are back, and this really is the definition of a team. These 4 guys, and they all live together, train together, hang out together. So we're just looking forward to a really great race. Hopefully, a fast and safe race.
Great. Back to you guys in the booth.
All right, thank you, Pam. As you get a look at the crowd behind us, as well as the bicycles lined up with the pace car there. And we mentioned the bicycle. We talked about it yesterday, but Stephen, this is a Schwinn bicycle. It's kind of a little bit retro there with just the single speed and the coaster brakes. Can you talk more about the bicycle and its mechanics?
Absolutely. It's known as the great equalizer because everyone is riding the same gear. It's a 4618 gear. So some of the best riders out here, they're going to be able to spin that out. They're going to be rotating a cadence at over 150 RPMs, which if you're not familiar with it, is very, very fast. So they're going to be limited by how fast they're spinning, not by how hard the gear is to push. So everyone rides that same 4618 gear and along with a 56-inch frame. So there's no matter if you're the best team or the worst team, everyone is riding the same bike.
Definitely. As we talk about this Little 500 is put on by the IU Student Foundation. And Kevin, the IU Student Foundation gets scholarships for students and really does a great job with that.
IUSF, a very diverse organization. They do so much. And just yesterday we were talking about the steering committee doesn't get a ton of pub, but they put on so many events throughout the year. Just a lot of communication with donors, and they just truly facilitate so many great events going on at IU. And the IUSF just does a top-of-the-line job. I mean, you could go to any sporting event. I'm talking about bowl games. I'm talking about playoff games in Major 4 leagues. You're not going to see an event more well-run with better pageantry than you're going to see at the Little 500.
Right now we're going to send it down to the PA mic. Chuck Crabb down for the invocation today down on the field. So we're going to send it to the PA mic.
Holy God, creator and sustainer of all being, heaven and earth are full of your glory. We thank you for the beauty of this day, which speaks of the brightness of your glory. We thank you for the vigor and discipline of these athletes, which speaks of your power and excellence. We thank you for the work of all those who have prepared this joyful day. God, who have created us to strive for excellence, send your blessing on our riders today that they may compete in a spirit of joy and respect. Keep them safe from all injury and any other harm. Bless all of us who watch today's competition and who celebrate on this day. May we celebrate in joy, safety, and prudence. Preserve us, blessed God, from all forms of violence and hatred. May we come to know the wonders of your love and majesty through the experience of this happy day. We ask all this in your holy name. Amen.
Presenting the colors today, the nationally recognized Pershing Rifles Color Guard from Indiana University, ROTC. Pershing Rifles is a competitive drill and honor squad which consistently receives high marks in competition. Watch skyward for parachuters from Skydive Indianapolis carrying flags to Armstrong Stadium. Please join our riders and coaches in celebrating America's freedom, those who now protect it, and we especially honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Please stand, ladies and gentlemen, and remove your caps. It is a true pleasure to introduce to you IU Jacobs School of Music student Brooke Vance. Brooke is a junior from Houston, Texas, majoring in vocal performance. She also is a member of Sigma Kappa sorority. Ladies and gentlemen, Brooke Vance presenting our national anthem.
so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Brooke Vance, ladies and gentlemen, along with Skydive Indianapolis.
And welcome back to the broadcast. Here, a wonderful rendition of the national anthem as we welcome you back to the booth. A look down at the infield, a lot of festivities going on. A look at the beautiful crowd, a lot of different colors, a lot of different teams represented here at the 2016 Little 500. 33 teams will be competing for glory today, and we will take you through the starting lineups. Leading on the pole, as we had 4 teams at under 2 minutes and 20 seconds. The Cutters in the green jersey, Delta Tau Delta in the middle of the front row in the black jersey, and the Black Key Bulls in the white jersey. After this front row, we're actually going to send you back to the field with another round's rendition of Back Home Again in Indiana. So back to the PA mic.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining through the sycamores for me. The new moon hastens all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana.
And welcome back. Excellent rendition as you look at the balloons flying skyward here at Bill Armstrong Stadium. A wonderful day. here at Bill Armstrong Stadium. I'm Sam Rumsa along with Kevin Highland and Stephen Gomez as we continue to take you through the starting lineup. Starting in the 4th position is Wright Cycling, 5th Phi Delta Theta in the blue jerseys, Gray Goat in the orange jersey starting 6th. Pi Kappa Alpha in the red jerseys in the inside of row 3. Sigma Alpha Epsilon in the middle of row 3 in the pink jerseys. CSF, sponsored by Canary Psychoware. Beta Theta Pi, 3PH Cycling, and Sigma Chi rounds out row number 4. In row 5, it's Alpha Sigma Phi, Lambda Chi Alpha, and Acacia back in the race for the first time since 2012. Alpha Epsilon Pi, Sigma Alpha Mu, and Delta Chi is row 6. Pi Kappa Phi, Phi Kappa Sigma, and Sigma Nu in row 7. Sigma Phi Epsilon, the defending champs in the yellow jerseys in row number 8, along with 4 Cycling and Young Pioneer, a team made up of 4 Chinese students in their first race. Pi Lambda Phi, Phi Gamma Delta, and Young Life in row 9. In row 10, Phi Sigma Kappa, Beta Sigma Psi, and Theta Chi, and rounding out the starting lineup, Tau Kappa Epsilon, Zeta Beta Tau, and Delta Sigma Pi. As Ben Higgins is directing the riders to mount their Schwinn bicycles. And we are about ready to get started. Stephen, what are you looking for here in the first few laps of this race?
I think it'll be interesting with the defending champions, Sig Ep starting the 22nd position. They're on the inside of the 7th row, so they're going to be boxed in. Not only are they very far back, but they're also boxed in, so I'm going to look for them to get to the front of the race as soon as they can. I'd also expect the Cutters rider, I believe that's Nick Theory on the bike, to drill it from the start, spread the race open, and try and drop some of the teams that maybe aren't as fit.
And also, as you were down there before the race, what's the track look like?
Track is very dry. So yesterday for the women's race, it was dry, and then it's only gotten hotter, and it's evaporating a lot of the moisture from the track. So as the day goes on, it'll be interesting to see if the bikes are kicking up cinders, which could lead to kind of dusty, dry racing conditions. And in those kind of conditions, that's where you're going to see a lot of wreck and confusion. So that's something we'll have to monitor as the race goes on.
Kevin, what are you looking for to start off this race?
It's going to be interesting, like he said, the defending champions. Will they be able to get up? Will Sig Ep be able to make an aggressive move, get up there, have a competitive race? Another thing, I think a team that we didn't even mention in the pre-race, a team that's going to be really interesting throughout the whole race is Phi Delta. Phi Delta starting in the 5 spot. Rob Lee, the 5th-year senior, Ryan Romanesco. They have so much experience, so much talent. Rob Lee, I heard earlier today, Robbie Howard, we were chatting with him from 33-1. He said Rob Lee might be the most purely talented cyclist in this entire field, so it'll be interesting.
Athletic.
Very athletic, big build, perfect build for this kind of race. So it'll be interesting to see if Phi Delta will be there in the later laps and give Lee a chance to really bring this one home for Phi Delta.
As Jordan Bailey, the race director, will be dropping the green flag when we go. We've got 3 pace laps, or 2 parade laps and a pace lap as the riders are off. And we are about to start the 66th running of the men's Little 500.
Jordan Bailey looking fantastic as ever, rocking the red pants. Always a colorful fit from him on race day. In his last race day as director.
Jordan's done a terrific job as race director. He's implemented a lot of new changes, specifically the timing system. He brought us back to the 21st century with a automated time-lapse system, and Jordan's been very innovative, and he's been a terrific race director, and the foundation will definitely miss Jordan Bailey.
And you and Jordan Bailey, both former BKB riders, talk about the foundation of your and Jordan's relationship.
Absolutely. The first ride I went on with Jordan, he didn't remember my name, and he rode very hard, and he left me out in the middle of Bloomington. Over time, Jordan and I became much better friends, and he represents what's great about this race. He gives back to it, he cares about it deeply, and it's a great day, and he's going to be dropping the green flag here in 2 laps.
That'll be great to see as the Chevy coming around, the Indianapolis 500 pace car.
I know on the front right now, I believe that's Nick Theory in green. We have Luke Tormelin of Delta Tau Delta in black, and Spencer Brockla of Blackie Bowls on the right. These are 3 powerhouses. These are all guys that got top 10 at ITT, so these are some of the strongest riders in the race.
And both Krahuliks, Nick Theory, a lot of guys that we talked about early on. One guy we didn't talk about a whole ton, Luke Tormelin. A lot of people believe that if the Krahuliks didn't ride together in missing out and were able to pair up, that Luke actually might have won missing out. It's going to be so interesting to see how much he's going to have to burn to keep Delts in this race.
Absolutely. I think if Delta's going to be there at the end, Tormellin's getting to ride over 100 laps.
Wow.
So during the rotation today, I expect it to be Luke exchanging to another rider back to Luke. So he'll be riding every other set. So look for a huge effort today out of Luke.
As the teams come around turn number 3, they're going to have one more lap to green. Again, the front row cutters in the green. Their riders, Logan Kuhn, Christopher Phillipson, Eric Schwedland, Nick Theory, and then Delta Todd, Delta Griffin, Casey William, Lucenhop, Jack Moore, and Luke Tormellin. And then Black Key Bulls, Spencer Brockla, Charlie Hammond, Nick Hartman, and Xavier Martinez. One more lap to green here at the 66th running of the men's Little 500.
As the race starts, it's always interesting to see how teams file in. So Cutters is going to go as hard as they can, basically, and other teams are going to try and get in their draft right as the green flag starts. So teams on the outside, it'll be interesting to see how if other teams are going to allow them to enter the draft. So look for a lot of shuffling at the top of the race as teams try to advance.
The pace car accelerates off the track, and the field under control of Cutters and Nick Theory. Coming around the third turn, now into turn number 4. Jordan Bailey holds the green flag in his hands. Here they come. The Cutters, and the green flag is out. Cutters, Delta Todd Delta, and Black Key Bulls leading the Little 500 as we are underway for the 66th time for Bill Armstrong Stadium.
Fantastic form there by JB. The 1 foot, the strong waving the green flag, getting some handshakes, people dapping him up down there.
Jordan's very fit. He's an Ironman Kona qualifier. So I think he's going to kick back the rest of the race and just enjoy his last go-around.
He will retreat into the stands as the first lap nearly complete. Weather conditions, absolutely picture-perfect day here in Bloomington. Clouds in the sky as Black Key Bulls leads the first lap.
Looks like Brocklo was having some words there. We don't know what nature they're of, but it looks like he was looking over his right shoulder, exchanging some words with Tormellin, exchanging words with some of the other riders at the front of the pack. We'll see how chatty this pack stays. Last year we saw some fanfare early on from Rob Lee. Rob Lee got just a few bike lengths up, took his time, waved to the crowd, took one hand off of his bike. So be interesting to see if we get any of that fanfare today.
Fidel's well known for their swagger. They're fan favorites, and they have one of the best fan sections. So yeah, look for Rob Lee and Phi Delta Theta to make some noise today.
Wright Cycling taking the lead, and then Cutters back to the inside in turn number 1 as this crowd, unlike the women's race yesterday, staying together quite a bit.
I think it's important to note that SIGEP has already moved back, moved up from their 22 position. They're sitting about 8th wheel on the inside. That's a much more safe position. All these teams, they want to get to the front of the race. At the front of the race, it's more safe. Traditionally, in the first 5-10 laps, there's usually some kind of crash. Right now, we're looking at kind of a slower pace. It's bunching up, and I don't believe we've dropped any teams at this point.
No, 33 teams still in that lead peloton as Gray Goat takes the lead. Cutters going to the outside, and they'll go 3 wide for the position number 1 into turn number 1. 77 degrees here in Bloomington, hardly any wind, and just a wonderful April afternoon.
All right, that's SAE moving up to the front. They're done with this tired pace. They're saying, let's go. Let's get some racing, as I believe Kyle Knight and Beta coming around on the outside.
Beta Theta Pi come to the outside on the back wheel of Sigma Alpha Epsilon, but then already the defending champs coming up from the 22nd starting position. It's Sigma Phi Epsilon leading already.
Shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that they got out there. That's something that you said early on in the race, Gomez, is that they're going to try to get up there, and they have found themselves at the front of the pack already.
Basically what you're seeing is all the teams you would expect to be at the top of the pack are. We see Phi Delta, SAE, Beta, Cutters, Black Key Bulls. They're all there. These are the teams that they're going to watch. They don't want to mess with the riffraff in the back. They want to stay safe, be in the top 5 or 6 wheels.
The solid colored jerseys up front.
Obviously, Sig Amp lost Nick Torrance, who really put the team on his back at the end of the race last year. But who are the returning guys do you think could really bring this home for him today?
I think I'm looking at Sam Anderson and Charlie Hicks are returners from last year's team. Charlie Hicks in particular is probably their strongest rider. He rode, I think, around 80 to 90 laps last year, so he's a very strong rider. And they're wearing the yellow jersey. There's confidence that comes with that. So even with Torrance graduating, I expect them to have a very strong race.
And we had a crash in turn number 3. I think that was Young Pioneer involved. Unfortunate to see that. And we'll get the other team. It might have been Phi Kappa Sigma involved. So Young Pioneer will go a lap down. and the other team involved in that crash trying to catch up to the lead pack. That is Phi Kappa Sigma.
So far, we're seeing a lot of SAE at the front. I believe that's one of the Krahulik brothers on the bike. They command a lot of respect here. If they're going to ask for a wheel, sometimes it can be hard to get into position, but if you're one of the big Krahulik brothers, you just take whatever wheel you want.
Already a burnout from the 16th team, Alpha Epsilon Pi. Jared Gershwitz, Skylar Gibson, Zach Horowitz, and Evan Safran, all freshmen for AE Pi.
I'll tell you what set I'm really liking right here. It's Kyle Knight of Beta Theta Pi in that red and white jersey sitting in third position behind Cutters right there. Kyle is a 220 ITTer. I believe he got third place. He's one of the racers. He's one of the best racers in this race. Beta might maybe not as deep as they were in previous years, so look for Kyle Knight to ride a lot of laps and potentially finish this race.
As we've already started to lose some riders off the pace. About 7 teams off the pace now from the lead pack.
Lots of lead changes early on in this one as we see Beta take that top position again away from Cutters.
So we did a lot of talking about Luke Tormelin from Delts early on. He's traditionally Courtney Bishop teams, coach teams. Courtney Bishop is the coach of Delta Tau Delta. They like to stay farther back in the pack. So you're not going to see Luke Tormelin in the black jersey for Delts see the front very much. He's going to want to stay in the back, stay in the draft, and conserve as much energy as he can.
As we are 8 laps complete here from Bill Armstrong Stadium.
On the front right now, and who just pulled off is that's 3PH Cycling. 3PH Cycling is an independent team. It stands for 3 Parts Hooligan, coached by IU professor Brian Gilly. Last year was their first race, and they finished inside the top 10, which is extremely hard to do. So they had the goal of finishing on the lead lap last year, and this year they want to win it.
Any idea where that name comes from, 3 Parts Hooligan?
You know, I'm not sure. Maybe they're just some crazy dudes that identify as hooligans.
How many total parts are there? What percentage of hooligan are they? We got a lot of questions. Maybe Pam can get some answers from 3PH later on in the race.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how the Black Key Bulls team came about?
Absolutely. All right. So there was a bike-a-thon at similar to Little 500 at Ball State University, and Dave Chinaki was a 4-time winner of this bike-a-thon. Unfortunately, the bike-a-thon kind of fizzled out, and so Dave Chinaki in 2006 brought Black Key Bulls over and kind of created this this new team. And at first, they weren't very respected. They weren't great, but over time, they've kind of created into this monster. And Black Key Bulls has never finished outside the top 10.
Wow.
Wow. How many years is that now?
They are in their 11th race, and they've never finished outside the top 10. They have 1 win and second place last year.
The 1 win you're familiar with, obviously, being part of the 2014 team.
Absolutely, a very proud, special moment. Yes, and as we see, speaking of Black Key Bulls, Spencer Broccoli gets out of the saddle and he's coming around on the outside. He doesn't want to be in the middle of the pack. He's going to get right up to the front and challenge Krahulik from SAE.
Theta Chi was actually in the lead after that last lap. They come up from 30th position, but they drop back to the end of the lead pack as we're 11 laps completed.
So if I'm one of these top teams, if I'm an SAE, if I'm a Cutter or a Phi Delt, there are still a huge pack here. There are a lot of teams. That makes for unsafe riding. So I think if I'm one of these teams, I want to push the pace, and I want to get rid of some of these teams that maybe shouldn't be there in this league group.
As Delt's going to the inside and taking away the lead. SAE right there, dropping back a little bit now.
So none of the top teams have been involved in a wreck so far. You know, during the first 20 laps or so, the mechanics in the infield with the bikes are on edge. They're watching, they're waiting for any bike to go down, and if that's the case, the mechanic's going to grab the bike and meet them over on the edge to switch out the bike if there is a wreck.
Coming across his Delta along with Beta Theta Pi, but Black Key Bulls jetting to the outside and taking lead into turn number 1.
Oh, geez, that's Spencer Brock looking out of the saddle. He's riding teams off his wheel right now. Fidel grabs the wheel, Tormelin grabs the wheel, Beta Theta Pi there too, so he's stringing it out right now. That's good turnover right there from Spencer Brockla.
Looks like we might be getting ready for some transitions from some of the top teams right now. Riders getting ready in their pits.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we're going to see an exchange here. I see Fidel out on the pit and Black
Great
Key
go,
Bulls.
really going for it right now. Opening up a few bike length lead. Looks like they're going to burn out right here.
We got some crowded exchanges right here. Uh-oh. Fidel needs to get out of the way. Exchanging Spencer Brockla to Xavier Martinez, a clean exchange. Probably not the gap he was looking for, but this is Xavier Martinez's first lap, and he's got a little gap to make up.
That he does, about a half of a turn.
It can get pretty crowded in these exchanges. As you saw there were 3 teams potentially exchanging, and you have to be in your own lane to avoid a wreck. So I think we had a little mix-up there where Fidel thought he was exchanging, but then realized the rider was not bringing it in. So Rob Lee kind of went back into the pit, but I think we're going to see an exchange right here for Fidel.
As Rob Lee in the blue shoes and black socks, ready to get on the bike.
Ooh, a clean exchange, a nice gap. That's perfect.
Great
That's
exchange.
a great first set for Phi Delta Theta, and they're pretty excited.
As they should be.
Rob Lee, more than anybody in this entire field that I can think of, just looks like a bike racer. The hair flowing out of the back of the helmet, built like a middle linebacker, just dominating on the bike. Krahulik also built. Krahulik looks a little bit like Lance Armstrong on the bike. Similar build, long, the length.
I'll tell you what, people do not want to mess with Rob Lee. He's known for throwing hippers at you. He'll throw a little body in you. He's not afraid to get physical, bump elbows, do a little anything.
And we've seen that in the past. You were talking earlier, if you want to talk on that some more, when he threw out a hipper a few years ago.
Yeah, you know, if you, like I'm saying, if you get in his way, back in 2014, Sigap got in his way a little bit, and Rob Lee was not afraid to get physical. He's a former hockey player, and I think he relishes. Ooh, big wreck, and turn 4 goes right into the wall.
Turn 2, that is, out there. And the rider waving to the crowd. That might be Acacia. Looking at it from far away. Sponsored by Bicycle Garage.
Acacia is coached by Tom Schwagler. Tom's a foundation in the Little Five community. He's coached them for years and years and years, and this is their first race in quite a while. They were kicked off campus, and they have a proud tradition, and they're racing all rookies today, so rough start for them, but in the future, you know, we look for them to be a contender from year to year.
As CSF going for a burnout.
And there we go. We're seeing Cutters making a move. Luke Tormelin is glued to that wheel, as is Kyle Knight. We're trying to see if they're going to do an exchange here, but Cutters running a very fast lap, but they're bringing everyone else along with them.
So Cutters, Delts, Beta, and then SAE as Cutters does go with an exchange. Getting off the bike is Nick Theory.
Wow, look at Kyle Knight turn it over right now. He's almost riding SAE off his wheel, so look for on the back stretch for Beta doing an exchange right now.
Beta Theta Pi going with the exchange as he will get on the brakes. They're going with the 2-bike exchange. We asked Pam this yesterday. What do you prefer, the 2-bike exchange or the single-bike exchange?
Personally, I'm all about the rider exchange. It's quicker, and if you can learn how to do it properly, you're going to see a better return on your investment. However, the bike-to-bike exchange is a little safer, but it is also slower, so you'll have to compensate when you get back on the bike. As we see SAE do a picture-perfect exchange, puts his rider right back into the pack. That's a good first set for, I believe, Andy Krahulik, as he gave it off to the ITT champion, Joe Krahulik.
Brother-to-brother connection there, and now really the most dominant rider from the Spring Series is on the bike. We'll see what he does in his first action today on the track.
Yeah, Joe's an impressive individual. He's a sophomore, and he has already ridden the second fastest recorded ITT of all time. He went 2:17 in ITTs, and that's about a second and a half slower than the ITT record held by Hans Arneson in 2005.
And Gomez, put that into perspective for people. Second of all time. Talk about the racers that have been in this historically and how impressive getting that number 2 overall spot is as a sophomore.
You know, a lot of those times depend on track conditions and weather, but a 2:17 is a 2:17. We've had professional cyclists go through here. Eric Young in particular. Eric Young, I think, went 2:18 as a junior, and he went on to win pro. So a 2:17 is very impressive. I saw that run. Joe Krahulik, he just turned his brain off, and he just went fast, and he didn't let up the entire time.
Grego and Sigma New going with burnouts here. As Grego will get back on the bike and rejoin the pack.
I think if you look at the front of the race right there, I believe Wright Cycling's making it a big move, or actually they're right in the pack there, about 4th wheel, but the pack has come back together.
So coming around the back, Cutters as they enter turn number 3, 21 laps scored complete.
See, this is more what I would expect the pack to look like. You know, we have about 12 teams there, and by the time we hit about lap 50, I'd expect about a third of those teams to also be gone. Some of these teams are already lapped riders. You know, we're seeing Beta Theta Pi has spent a lot of time at the front, which is something I probably didn't expect. As I mentioned earlier, they probably don't have the depth they had in previous years, but good for them. They're not shying away. They're not afraid to take the wind. That's the kind of race I'd expect to see from a Beta Theta Pi cycling team.
Especially some of the younger riders that are getting on the bike right
Whoa,
now.
Xavier Martinez making a big move, creating a huge gap there. Maybe he's coming in for his first exchange.
See, looks like he is going to get his first exchange right now, opening up a few bike lengths right now on Krahulik. Krahulik going to be staying on the bike. He'll be a little bit clear of the field as Blackie Bulls makes this exchange.
All right, you know, a great gap, and he's putting him right at the top of the field. That's a very good first set for Xavier Martinez. And
A quick set, too, at that.
Yeah.
absolutely. So through 23 laps, a lot of these teams have already exchanged twice. As we see 3PH, I believe, leading. And Cutters, they're kind of off to the front on the side. You know, they're saying, hey, someone else work. You know, someone else work with us. We just did our work. Someone else needs to pull through here as the pace slows down considerably.
So 23 laps scored complete. As SAE leads.
We're seeing Chappie Blackwell throw out that kind of blue checkered flag, and what that flag signifies is he's telling riders that are lapped that they need to move outside of the inside lane, because you know that's when you're going to see crashes. You know, when you're lapping riders, they're on the inside going slower, and they're in a space you're trying to go. So it's their job that they need to move onto the outside.
As SAE retreats back to the pack.
Yeah, you know, it's been a very safe race so far. You know, like I said, none of these top contenders have gone down yet, but it's a 200-lap race. One of these big boys are going to go down at some point, as I think Charlie Hicks from SAE makes a move to the front. He's getting a little tired of this. He's not afraid to pull the share. I think on the front right now is Charlie Hammond of the Black Key Bulls. Charlie's in his second race, and Charlie was the 5th place ITTer and first for Black Key Bulls, followed closely by Cutter Cycling and the gray jersey behind them.
As right
Looking
now,
like CSF.
Fiji going with a burn as they qualified 26th. Typically a powerhouse team, but taking a step back this year.
Yeah, Fiji, I believe, has four or five little 500 wins. As Luke Tormellin's making a big move, turning it over. That's a great spin. Yeah, he looks great. I'm guessing he's making an exchange here. Typically, Delt Cycling will always do bike-to-bikes. They prefer that, as Luke motions for his rider to move over. That's a textbook bike-to-bike. Courtney Bishop's going to be very happy with that.
As CSF comes in for an exchange. Looking good is SAE right now. Sponsored by Pizza X.
Looks like Fidel and Rob Lee now taking command of this peloton.
Oh, a big crash right there. I believe SAE's down. SAE and Purple and Ride, those are two contenders. No yellow flags yet, but that's a huge, so they're already about a straightaway down.
Able to bounce right back up. Thankfully, no injuries there.
And let's see, usually when the bike goes down, you got to see if something might be wrong with the bike. So they're about a third of a lap down. The pit coaches are all telling the riders, you got to go right now. SAE's one of the favorites. You got to put them out of the race right now.
Wow, a big crash in turn number 2.
I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but perhaps some overlapping of wheels as we see a quarter lap down. Right Cycling is, oh wow, Right Cycling's about a half lap down already as they're doing an exchange. They're a good team. They'll be able to get back in this.
Man, it looks like a possible cut on the inside of the left leg.
No, this is a very big relevation, and I'm surprised the pack is not going faster considering SAE's down. This is some good luck. You need to push the pace if you're the Cutter Cycling, if you're Black Key Bulls, Beta Theta Pi, CSF. This is the time you want to go. You know, you want to hurt your competitors, and this is a really good opportunity to do so.
And we've talked about Drew Krahulik already at length today. If anybody's capable of making up this gap, it is going to be him for SAE. Like you said, though, it's interesting that this pack isn't pushing it more. Right now, he's not even a quarter lap back on the same straightaway as them.
I think the pack has caught wind
now.
Another
crash in turn number 3.
So
we're not sure who that is.
So I think we're seeing a little more organization for the pack right now.
As that is team 25, Pi Lambda Phi.
So we're seeing Charlie Hammond and Phi Delta Theta behind him working together. Because, you know, they know, hey, SAE's got a little bit of a gap, but SAE's already closed this down quite a bit. they're probably not too worried about it. They're responding correctly. And instead of doing, too hard of an effort, they're making an even effort across about 8 laps here. So, you don't want to do it all at once.
And that's something we saw last year. SIGEP going down in last year's race, able to rebound. A similar part of the race that SIGEP went down in last year. And one difference we were talking about yesterday in the men's and women's race is mistakes early on are able to be erased in the men's race. Just because of the length of it, 200 laps, you're going to be able to make up some mistakes in the men's race.
Absolutely, like you just indicated there, it's 200 laps. So if something happens this early in the race, you don't need to lose your head over it. You need to correct that mistake, but you have plenty of time to fix it.
There's quite a few teams coming for Burns.
Right, so the race is kind of getting blown up right now. I believe Black Key Bowls is coming into an exchange as Fidelt is going to stay on the track.
Wright Cycling.
Oh no, I think that Wright just got lapped right there. That's not how you want to start the race. That's not a good start for them. They're a very strong team led by Evan Zare and Riley Fig. That's a really unfortunate wreck, and those guys work incredibly hard, and I'm not counting them out of the race just yet.
Looks like Mitchell Sassman about to get on the bike for SAE. Krahulik, they're going to get him off the bike as he looks to burn right now. We'll see how much he can get SAE back in the race.
We've got Grey Grunt on the front, followed by Black Key Bowls and the lapped Wright Cycling. They're still trying to apply pressure because SAE has not been able to get on yet. It looks like it will be inevitable that SAE will make it up, but the question is, how much effort are they going to have to expend to make up that gap? As I think Mitchell Sassman's doing a really good job right now closing this down. He's got a great spin, and this is off to a great set. I think he's going to make contact here with the pack in about a lap or two.
34 laps complete, and we'll take you through a full field rundown as we get past this next lap. Just to reset the score here as they come out of turn number 4.
So SAE just made contact. That's good for them. They're back in the race. There is no issue there, but they used up some energies. They burned some matches. We'll see how that plays out later in the race.
As Sigma Phi Epsilon leads, 3PH Cycling second, Black Key Bulls in third, Cutters in fourth, Beta Theta Pi in fifth, Delta Tau Delta in sixth, Forest Cycling in seventh, Phi Delta Theta eighth, Gray Goat coming in eighth, Sigma Nu ninth, 11th is Pi Kappa Alpha, 12th Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Phi Gamma Delta in 13th, CSF 14th, Sigma Chi in 15th. 16th position goes to Lambda Chi Alpha, Alpha Sigma Phi in 17th, Pi Kappa Phi, Theta Chi, and Wright round out the top 20. Delta Chi, Phi Sigma Kappa, Phi Kappa Sigma in Acacia, and Sigma Alpha Mu in 25th. 26th is Alpha Epsilon Pi passes them, Pi Lambda Phi in 27th, Young Life 28th, Tau Kappa Epsilon 29th, Beta Sigma Psi 30th, 31st Young Pioneer, 32nd Delta Sigma Pi, and Zeta Beta Tau rounds out the field.
Interesting, Lars Feste from Phi Delt. He's been waiting for the past 3 laps to make this exchange. Rob Lee totally ignoring the pit, staying on the bike. Be interesting to see how long he stays on before he burns out.
Absolutely. Also of note, I'm seeing Ben Higgins, the Grand Marshal, is on the center stage right now, and I'm going to be quite honest, guys. Ben looks a little disinterested. I expect a little more out of our Grand Marshal.
I need the passion. I need the fire from Bachelor Ben.
He might be a little emotionally depleted after dating 25 women, but I know IU's proud to have him here, and he's an excellent guy, and he portrayed himself very well on his show, The Bachelor.
Hopefully we'll be able to score an interview with him at some point in this race. Hopefully Pam will be able to get the inside scoop, really grill him on his little 500 knowledge.
I'd be interested to see who Ben would be rooting for in this.
See if we can get that info later on in the race. Right now it looks like BKB looking to make an exchange.
That's Nick Hartman on the bike for Black Key Bulls, followed by Evan Zare as Grey Goat makes a move to the front.
Nick Hartman, WIUX DJ.
Absolutely. He's
one of the better guys you'll ever meet. Such a nice guy.
He's a great guy and a great rider, but not the best music taste if you ask me objectively.
He stayed on the bike there, no exchange for BKB.
38 laps complete here at the 66th Men's Little 500 at Bill Armstrong Stadium.
I'll tell you what, I really like the race that Grey Goat is putting on right now. They're very active at the front. They're taking their poles. They might be a dark horse we can look on later on in the race. As SIGAP makes a big move, they looks to be burning to go through an exchange right now. As Wright Cycling is glued to their wheel. So now it's going to be interesting with Wright Cycling as they found themselves already a lap down. what kind of strategy they will do to kind of maybe unlap themselves.
As they come around turn number 4.
All right, so that's Nick Hartman is glued to Delt cycling wheel right now. Most of these teams are aware that Delt might, a little arrow tuck there from Nick Hartman as he stops pedaling.
That was beautiful.
I'm not sure the actual benefit of that, but it looks kind of cool.
As we're going to go to a break right now. Lap 40 complete, a fifth of the way through the race as you look at Black Key Bulls leading down the backstretch. You're listening to the 66 Men's Little 500 on WIUX and IUSF's website. We'll take a break.
Life and our daily walks are a race, and the Little 500 strives to be a microcosm of that truth.
In college, when you're in that moment, you don't find that ever again, and that's why people come back.
Today is the day, folks. It's finally here. A year's worth of training for 33 men's and women's teams is going to be put to the test this afternoon.
I read the rule book like the Bible. It's there.
The best $30 ticket in town.
I couldn't believe that she was able to participate with that amount of damage in her knee, and she won.
You think it was worth it? Yeah. I'm never going to be able to be like the caliber of an athlete that I was, on the 5 ever again.
I try and blame the guy that hit us. I try blaming myself, but I found that anger doesn't solve anything. There's so much emotion in this thing, and to have your brother there with you is special. Mentally, I'd like to think that I was a little bit better put together than everybody else out on the track. Anger's a barrier, pain's a barrier.
Little 5's a funny thing. You don't get a chance to do it over again. There's no race next week that you can fix the mistakes that you made the week before. It's literally all or nothing. I cannot believe you could look at that video and think that's the right call.
Who do they call out when they need them? Who do they give the bike to when they desperately, desperately need them to win? And that's me.
Looks like it is going to be Teeter.
And welcome back to the 66th Men's Little 500. Sam Rumsel along with Kevin Highland, along with Stephen Gomez, Pam Lobig down on the field. Kevin, what are your thoughts on this race so far?
It's been a great race so far. We've seen so many lead changes, and the guys who were there are people we expected to be there. SAE had a little wipeout there. Joe Krahulik did a good job getting them back onto the pack. They're still on the bottom end of it, but like we said, it's a 200-lap race. I think they'll be just fine. We've seen some really nice riding from Black Key Bulls, Fidel, the top teams, all we expected. And Sig Ep, like we said earlier on in the race, like you said, Gomez, they're going to try to get up to the top of the pack. They got there, and they are jockeying with the race leaders right now. We've seen them in the lead at points. So it's going to be a great race right now. I believe only 13 teams on the lead lap, so it's a fast pace, and they're separating the boys from the men right now.
So as we look back to the track, a look at the battles as Black Key Bulls leads into turn number 3.
So we're seeing a still very active right cycling. They're looking for opportunities to begin to unlap themselves. That's a hardy task, but they have some really, really good riders like Riley Fig and Evan Zaire, so they might have the firepower to complete that daunting task. As Cutters is active on the front and Sig Up is pulling through. Teams we're seeing doing a lot of activity on the front. We've seen Sig Up there quite a bit, Cutters, Black Key Bulls, Right Cycling, Grey Goat, and Fidel. And kind of as we expected, we've seen Beta has been in the back quite a bit along with Delts. I don't think we're going to see Delts at the front at all for much of the race.
A big parallel between today's race and yesterday's women's race. We're seeing on the front stretch team in the bright orange uniform. Yesterday it was AOPI, today it's Grey Goat, making an unusual amount of exchanges. Grey Goat, I feel like, has made about twice as many exchanges as anybody in this front positioning.
Absolutely.
Interesting strategy. We'll see how it pays off.
I think in the blue jersey there in about 4th position is Ryan Romanesco of Phi Delta Theta. Ryan is vice president of the Riders Council, a group of riders that help implement various activities within the riding community. And Ryan is a third-year rider. He's one of the strongest guys in this race. So maybe look for Ryan to be pretty active at the front of the race here.
And a fifth-year senior along with teammate Rob Lee.
Tons of experience for Fidel.
Yeah, Ryan's an accounting major, so he came back for 5th year to get his 150 hours to sit for the CPA exam.
Wow. Impressive stuff from Romanesco. From all accounts, just a great guy all around. One of the class acts of this field.
Yeah, Ryan might be Mr. Congeniality of the men's field. He's always got a smile on his face, and you're not going to find anyone to say a bad word about him.
As they come around turn number 3 and 4, nearly a quarter of the way through this men's race.
I know with graduation of Nick Torrance and another rider from SIGEP's winning team not racing today, they have 2 returning riders from their championship team. So they have a nice combination of experience of having won this race, individuals who have done it before, and they have some young talent, 2 freshmen. Pete Arnold, I believe, particularly, is a very strong rookie rider. So I think they'll be leaning heavily today on him to do a lot of laps and ride a quality race.
And right now, as we're about a quarter of the way through the race, we want to let you know that you can tweet at us at WIUX Sports. Let us know where you're listening from, maybe what team you're rooting for, and we'll try to give you a shout out on air. So again, that's at WIUX Sports.
So something to look for when we're watching today. The pack sometimes is going to be strung out, and other times it's going to bunch up. When the pack is strung out, that's usually indicative that the race is fast and laps are going pretty by quick. When it bunches up, that's usually going to be riding 40, 42-second laps, and it's going to be kind of slow. So right now we just saw it strung out, and now it's coming back together in a bunch, indicating a slower pace.
One of the things you talked about yesterday, Gomez, we saw some incredibly fast laps out of a Delta Gamma rider yesterday.
Absolutely. That was Kristen Bignell, who finished about a half wheel behind Tabitha Sherwood at the end there. Kristen rode a 33.1 second lap.
Wow.
I don't think a lot of the men out here today could ride that. So that's very, very impressive. And as we mentioned earlier, Kristen's a junior. She'll be back next year, and she's going to hopefully have a great race next year as well.
Absolutely. DG definitely in good hands for the future in the ladies race.
We're seeing a lot of activity at the front of the race right now. I believe SAE is coming to an exchange. They're over their mishap earlier, and we're seeing 3 exchanges on the front stretch. Wright, SAE, and Grego. Let's see if they can get it clean. Ooh, a little bump in there as the incoming rider went down for SAE.
Andy Krahulik back in saddle for SAE, having to make up for that mistake right now.
Andy is one of the most experienced riders in the race. He's done 4 of these before. He does a lot of track velodrome racing. So not only is he one of the strongest riders in the race, he's also one of the smartest.
Great profile from the IDS on the Krahulik brothers. Kind of cheeky title, Keeping Up with the Krahuliks. And they talked about how Andy has really built up this program. The SAE program doesn't have much history. Their only win in 1963, so over 50 years ago is the last time they were able to hoist the trophy. So Andy Krahulik has really done a fantastic job of building up this program. Like we said, pre-race, he was able to pry away Joe Krahulik from BKB after his first semester as a freshman. He was training with BKB and then comes over to SAE. He said it took some convincing, and he said he wasn't the one who necessarily made the pitch. He let the rest of the guys on the team really take his brother in, let them know what they're about, and they were able to hook up as the 2 brothers, like we said, 1, 2, and missing out. So a family affair for SAE, and it's really elevated this program to heights that it really has never seen since the 1960s.
Yeah, interesting. Andy also was trained by the Cutters for a semester as well. So, they took a little bit of a knowledge from the Cutters and Black Key Bulls rider. But, yeah, Andy's the heart and soul of it. And they're coached today by Dan Burns. And I know we had an interview with him earlier. Dan was a champion of this race in 2002 with the Corleones, which was a SAE, they were kicked off campus and they formed the Corleones, and it'll be interesting to see how Dan influences their race strategy today, because when they won the race back in 2002, they just grinded it away. Every set was hard, every set was fast. So today, with the best sprinter in the field, conventional wisdom would say they want to be slow and wait for a sprint, but with Dan Burns at the helm, perhaps we're going to see a mid-race attack or pushing the pace throughout the race.
SAE already back in that 3 spot. Looks like 2 are kind of running away from the field right now.
And we're seeing 3PH on the backstretch
here.
They're running a great race so far. They're confident. They're getting great gaps. They're staying active at the front. A really great start for 3PH Cycling.
We want to give a shout out to some of our viewers and listeners. Joe Wrightan from Silverthorne, Colorado. We've got Joe Downey in Georgia. Listening in Kansas City, Pamela Buchanan, watching in Chicago. Landon Davison in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Peter Bernardi watching from Denver, rooting on Cutters.
The IU Student Foundation would like
Mark Hoffman watching from his lawnmower.
That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the stream. And again, we want to give a big shout out to Jordan Bailey, the race director at IUSF, for this partnership between WIUX, IU, and IUSF. It's great for the first time because a lot of people didn't have Access TV in the past, so it's really just a select few people that could watch the race live. So it's fantastic that IUSF and WIUX have made this partnership to be able to bring the race live. Great production crew, really doing an awesome job being able to bring the race to everybody, whether they're at their computer, on their phone, wherever they are, they're able to soak in Little 500.
So I don't know if the camera's caught it quite yet, but Wright Cycling has about almost a straightaway lead as they start to unlap themselves. They're coached by former Cutter rider and champion back from 2000, Chris Wojtowicz. Woj is one of the best coaches out here, and he understands what it takes to win the race. So they're going to try and unlap themselves right here as they go in for an exchange.
2-bike exchange here.
And yeah, so Wright has a very nice gap. They have a fresh rider on the bike right now. So hey, they've got a real chance at unlapping themselves and putting them back into the mix. And it's interesting, so you have the top teams right here, and are they really incentivized to go chase down this Wright Cycling? Are they really going to use their energy to catch a already lapped team?
I don't know if they do. I don't know about what you guys are thinking, but Wright, maybe if it was a team like SAE, maybe if it was a team like SIGEP, you'd go chase them down right now. But I don't think Wright presents themselves as quite a big enough threat to go chase down at this point, especially when they're still 3/4 of a lap back from the whole field.
Yeah, we'll see if they're going to be able to do it as Deltz makes a move and the Cutter rider it looks to catch his wheel. So yeah, we're seeing the race strung out right here. So Deltz must be doing an exchange.
Deltz doing an exchange on the backstretch. SAE leads. In second place, it's Cutters, and then BKB, and then Phi Delta Theta.
Yeah, speaking of Phi Delta Theta, I talked to some of their riders before the race, and they really do have a great alumni group. This is one of the best groups in Little 500, and they've got a good alumni base, and they're riding a great race so far. As SAE pulls through, and Cutters on the inside as well. Cutters has been very active at the front right now. This is probably the best squad they've had since 2013. Not only are they a deep team with 4 very strong riders and Logan Kroon, Chris Philipson, and Nick Theory, but they also have the finishing power. Nick Theory is one of the best riders in this race. He's won ITTs before. He's a sub-220 ITTer. So I spoke to Jim Kirkham yesterday, and he said, hey, we want to get Nick Theory to the end. We know we have the depth, and we know we have the speed to finish this race. So look for Cutter Cycling to be there at the end and be a force. I'm also noticing SIGEP has done quite a little bit of a work this year. Last year, they were a little bit of a dark horse. We didn't see them at the front very much. And this year, they're saying, like, hey, we're the alpha dogs. We're at the front. We're making the race as Beta Theta Pi pulls through.
Coming into turn 4, we're down to 12 together on the leader's lap.
There's just 12 on the lead lap now.
That's Luke Tormelin in second place there, followed behind Black Key Bulls. Luke Tormelin sees the front. He's probably going to slow down. Deltz does not like to pull in the wind, but hey, he's doing an honest pull right there. There you go, Deltz. Courtney Bishop's not going to be too happy with him. He might get pulled in for an exchange.
Now BKB getting him inside. All the leaders we expected to be there are there right now. Looks like BKB followed by Deltz. Cutters behind them. Beta, impressive showing right now in 4th.
And Beta will go to the lead and lead this lap. 66 laps now complete.
if I'm not mistaken, that's AJ Suit on the bike for Beta Theta Pi. AJ's in his 3rd race. He's a senior. He takes a lot of pride in his riding. He does a lot of road racing. Very, very competitive rider as he goes in for an exchange.
Feels like Andy Krahulik's been on the bike forever now. Really long session from Andy going on.
Oh, he's not phased. He knows what he's doing. He's strong. He's smart, as we mentioned earlier. He's not afraid of doing work and still being there at the end.
Here comes the lead pack once again. SAE leads, Delt's in 2nd, Cutter's in 3rd, BKB 4th, SIGEP in 5th.
So far, we've seen some pretty fast lap times out of the men. Right after SAE went down in that crash, I think we saw Joe Krahulik ride a 30.5-second lap.
Whew.
I'm telling you, folks, I'm not sure what the single lap record is, but that's pushing it right there. At that point, you know, you're spinning out the bike. You can't go much faster. Not only do you have to be incredibly strong and have a good finesse to be able to turn over the pedals like that, but you have to have a bike control to be able to maintain that cadence into the turns.
That's just flying right there.
Yeah. As Rob Lee makes his way to the front, not the same kind of theatrics we saw out of Rob, but I guess it's early in the race so far. And again, we're seeing Grey Goat very not as active at the front, but they're riding very well. They've been in the top 5 wheels, riding a very safe and smart race so far. Yeah, in the past, Cutter Cycling and SIGEP, maybe when their teams aren't as strong as they've been in this year, they've been more content to stay at the back. But you know, this year they're going out the front. They're pushing the pace. They're not afraid to do the work.
Absolutely. AE Pi going on a burnout right now. I believe they're back from the lead lap right now.
Yeah, so it can be confusing for the viewers at home. You know, you have
absolutely, because what threw us off for a second there, Theta Chi looked like they were in the 2nd positioning right there, not obeying the orders of getting outside. So it looked like Theta Chi was in 2nd for a minute.
That's Chappie Blackwell who's waving the flags at the start-finish line. And when Chap tells you it's time to move over, you better listen or you're going to get a penalty. So we haven't talked about it yet, but can you guys take us through some of the penalties you have in the race, like such as impeding and creeping?
As with 70 laps complete, we're going to throw it back down. We're going to try once again with Pam Lobig to get the interview in the right cycling pit. Pam, take it away.
Whoa, you guys had a wreck early and you're down a lap. What happened?
I think we, something with SAE, we both went down. He had to straighten his handlebars and we lost like a big chunk quickly, got back up. So now we're lapped down very quickly, so we're looking for a great gap and then go with it. Hopefully someone attacks. We want to help that team win, but we also want to get our lap back, do whatever we can to get that lap back. I've seen it done before, it's possible. We'll do our best.
Did you do it yourself one time in this race?
Yeah, but I didn't crash first. I just went around. But
so
it happens, and you know, Riley's a great rider, and you know, we're gonna try to get it back. So.
Well, maybe this will mirror how your season's been going so far. You know, a little rough earlier on. You didn't know if you'd have a full team, but then you came together with a great team. Maybe the same thing for the race.
Yeah, and other teams can crash too, like we've seen on lap 199 or whatever. So. We're not going to panic. We're just going to try to find an opportunity to take without burning all our candles trying to get off the front. So, yeah. So.
You just made a good move at it and had a nice gap on the pack. Do you think you can do that again?
Yeah, we're going to try to follow out like SAE's best rider or something like that. Avery, I love you, by the way, if you're watching.
All right, let's see if...
And Megan.
Let's see if Wright can get their lap back. Back to you guys in the booth.
Chris Watoa is full of love there.
Definitely. As we were talking about before that, we wanted to talk about some of the rules and the exchanges and penalty box and things like that.
Absolutely. So for the viewers at home, this is a 200-lap race. You have 4 riders on each team, and you must complete 10 exchanges. There's a SIGEP's riding quite a quick lap right now as Black Key Bowls has a very nice gap as he's probably going to bring it in for an exchange here. And additionally, you can be penalized if you do not follow the rules. For instance, if you get in the way of another rider, that's called impeding, and you might be assessed a penalty. The way the penalties work is you get assessed the penalty and you have 0 to 20 laps to serve it. That means going to the penalty box near the start-finish line, and you have depending on the severity of the offense, you have to wait between, I think, 2 and 20 seconds as the race continues.
Yeah, I saw Zeta Beta Tau in the 32nd position earlier have to come into that penalty box for just a couple of seconds.
Charlie Hammond exchanged there with Spencer Brocklow. Beautiful exchange. BKB able to stay on the lead group, not lose any time there because of a fantastic exchange.
Absolutely. He gave it to Spencer, and Spencer's kind of stuck at the back of the pack right here, and he's going to want to move up to probably the safer part. Right now, as we're noticing a little bit of a lull here as Beta Theta Pi makes a big move on the outside.
As after that lap, Forest Cycling actually in the lead.
Forest Cycling, that's someone we haven't talked about very much up until this point. Last year, Forest Cycling got in the top 5. It was almost a complete dark horse. They're led by Joseph Hunt, who's a top 10 ITTer. Perhaps they'll be under the radar this year and maybe not expected to do a lot of the work, but they could be there at the end and potentially make some noise.
Scholarships is a great way to support both your favorite Little 500 team as well as deserving students on the Bloomington campus with much needed scholarship support.
As after that lap 76 complete, Sigma Nu in the lead, Cutters in second, Delta Tau Delta in third, Grey Goat fourth, Sigma Alpha Epsilon in fifth, Sigma Phi Epsilon in sixth, Phi Delta Theta seventh, 3PH Cycling eighth, Phi Gamma Delta ninth, and Black Key Bulls rounding up the top 10.
So this is a little confusing here. I thought Black Key Bulls just exchanged, but there might be an issue with the bike or something because he looks like he's going in for another exchange here. So for the viewers at home, each team has a mechanic on the infield. So they're going to be working on the bike. So say you have a wreck and you have to switch out your handlebars or wheels. Or for your team like Delts, what the Delts will actually do is they will switch out their handlebars and seat posts and make it individual and custom for each and every rider so they have their have that optimal fit. So, you know, you're going to be seeing mechanics run back and forth, grabbing bikes, being able to change seat heights. Each team has, 2 bikes. So, obviously, not every rider is the same height, so you need to adjust the seat height. And, if there's issue with the bike, you're going to want to change that out.
They come around again. Black Key Bulls in the lead. Cutters in second. Third place, SAE. And right there.
So what you're going to see there is, Black Key Bulls is on the front right now, and he keeps looking over to the left, and he's basically saying, like, all right, guys, I've been at the front. Time for someone else to do some work. So he keeps looking over, and he's probably getting a little annoyed.
Right, a lap down in 13th. Theta Chi also a lap down in 14th.
All right, Phi Delts making a big move. They're marked by Sig Ep, and they're marked by Delts also, and Black Key Bulls and Cutters are going to catch that wheel as well.
Everybody accelerating here.
And let's see, that's Luke Tormelin going in for an exchange. And as I mentioned earlier, Luke's one of the very strongest riders in the race, and he's probably going to switch off every other time. So most teams, they're going to go through an order of 4. You have 4 riders, and you're going to switch to that. But the Delts seem to be going back and forth between another rider and Luke.
As Rob Lee came out for Tibet Spencer.
And as we see the exchange going for Delts right now, nice exchange, clean, but we see them making that exchange in the backstretch as the second qualifying team. Gomez, can you take us through their thinking on why they would put themselves on the backstretch when the rest of the top 8 teams are on the front stretch?
Kevin, Delts must know something we don't know. But yeah, no, usually they try and go for that. Typically, teams are going to start their burn to exchange out of turn 2. So what Delts, the conventional wisdom to start at 2. So what Delts tries to do is they want to burn out of turn 4 where other teams aren't expecting it. So they like that extra pit, and they don't like the prying eyes of some of their competitors on the front stretch, because typically you're going to see the better teams on the home stretch.
Looking to make a sneak attack, perhaps.
Courtney Bishop is he's one of the best coaches. I think in his career he's only not been on the lead lap 3 times as coach. So yeah, like I mentioned, they might not have the depth as maybe Cutters or Sig Ep, but I'm not counting those guys out.
As Grey Goat went for an exchange that last time, now rejoining the pack.
Followed by Theta Chi and Sigma Chi.
So they just rode a 35-second lap in the last one, which is a pretty quick lap, so we're seeing a little bit of a lull. So that's kind of how this race goes. It ebbs and flows. You're going to have fast laps, you're going to have short laps. So sometimes, this race, it's all about being able to adjust to that speed. You're going to have a 32-second lap, and then you're going to slow down. So it's all being able to adjust to the different speeds.
As Beta Theta Pi come with a fast lap as they lead, as the lead pack coming up on a pack of lapped cyclists.
I don't know about you guys, but for me, Beta has been this impressive team so far that I don't think many of us expected to be pushing the pace with these leaders, but Beta has been right there all 81 laps now.
Absolutely. They're coached by former champion Eric Anderson, so he's going to be in the pit with them. And Eric, he's very, very smart. He was kind of the engineer that built that Beta Theta Pi champion team in 2013. So not only are they well coached and have great riders, but they have a great alumni base as well.
As SAE leads this one as they'll go past a big pack of cyclists. And Sigma Nu, then Black Key Bulls. That last lap at 31.551 seconds. Quick lap there, and a quicker lap from SAE at just over 30 seconds. Well, that's their best time, excuse me. Their last lap at 34 seconds.
So something, a common theme you're going to see amongst some of these teams is, especially the top ones, is they're going to have a very good alumni base group. So these are riders that, 3-4 years ago, they were in this race. They know what it's like, and they want to give back to it, which is great. And that aligns with kind of the mission of the Student Foundation, Not only are they providing scholarship for working students, but they're creating this memorable experience that keeps drawing people back to IU. So in terms of those values, the foundation's doing a terrific job.
Looks like both Cutters and BKB on a burnout lap right now, looking to make an exchange. Be interesting to see if it gets crowded up with their posts being right next to one another.
So I think we have Pi Caps, Cutters, Black Key Bulls, and maybe Phi Delts all at the same time, right in the same 5 pits. This could get pretty dicey, as definitely Cutters is going in and Pi Caps, I believe.
BKB elects to go with an exchange next lap, as to not interfere with Cutters and possibly get into a crash. That could have been a dangerous situation there.
Same thing, Fidel holding off because of Grey Goat's exchange.
And that can get tricky, though, because sometimes, the guy who's getting off the bike, they're using up all their energy going as fast as they can. And they look in the pit and they're not ready. They're saying, all right, I was ready to go. I don't have much juice left in the tank.
As here coming off the bike is Andy Krahulik, and getting on his brother Joe.
Joe Krahulik there making sure that the rider from right was staying off. That's Riley Fig. He kept on telling him to get to the inside. Riley didn't move. Joe walked over there, put a hand on him, said move to the inside, making sure he had a clear pathway. We saw Wright have some tricky exchanges earlier. Joe didn't want to get tangled up in any part of that, especially after falling earlier on in the race.
So we've talked a lot about the Krahulik so far, but they also have their 3-4 rider, Mitch Sassman and Jake Hartmeister. They haven't ridden as much early on in the race, which is kind of interesting. Conventional wisdom would say, you want to save your best guys for the end, but SAE's just kind of putting their best guys in at the beginning, and I think if we're going to project out their laps right now, SAE, Andy, and Joe are both looking probably at riding 70 to 80 laps if they continue at this pace.
Yeah, they've dominated the workload for them so far. Seems like Luke has had a ton. Luke Tormelin for Delts has also had a ton of laps. Gomez, something you predicted pre-race, and that's pretty much come true. He's had a huge workload, and he's going to need to if Delts is going to want to stay in this race.
Absolutely. We're 87 laps in, and, Luke is a very strong rider, but, we'll see we're at that 160. So say they're at 160 and he's already ridden 100 laps. Your legs are getting tired.
Yeah.
A gap you might have been able to close earlier in the race, you probably can't do that anymore. So they're gonna have to rely heavily. They're gonna need big performance from their 2, 3, and 4 riders.
Sigma Nu coming on a burnout here, it looks like.
Yeah, Sigma Nu's a team we haven't talked about very much yet. They have one very, very strong rider in Jeremy Crawford, along with another supporting cast that is also very competent. So I'm not sure where Sigma Nu is at during the race, but they have some good riders, and they could be there right in the action with everyone else.
So coming around the lead pack as we are approaching 88 laps complete. Cutters in the lead. And then Beta Theta Pi, followed by Phi Delta Theta.
CSF's really faded off. They were right there with the leaders earlier on in the race. Right now, just barely holding on, trying not to get lapped.
You know, something we haven't talked about too much is the weather. You know, right now we're looking at about 75, to 80 degrees, which, it's been pretty cold here in Bloomington. So that's definitely a change of pace.
It feels great here in the booth because we got some shade, but down there on the track, it has to be pretty hot with the cinders down there.
Absolutely. Those cinders, it's black, it's reflecting right off at you. And, and when you're putting in all this effort, you're exerting yourself at maximum effort, it's easy to get dehydrated, and that's another way to lose energy. So we're seeing some of these teams, they have umbrellas trying to keep their riders in the shade. But, yeah, in addition to the high temperatures, we're not seeing a lot of wind either. So this is pretty optimal conditions for a fast race.
All right, as we get to lap 90, we're going to send you to a break one more time. We're going to go to a break here on WIUX, your home for Hoosier Sports.
Taste the feeling.
Estimating Foxtrot Alpha Sierra Echo Lima. Delta 185, flight control, how do you copy?
Once you get out here, there's just one direction. Forward. One time. Now. And there's just one sound. You and us together, telling the world we're coming for you.
How do you simplify the complicated? First, you have to ask the right questions, and then not be afraid of the answers. This was our approach when we set out to simplify the most complex system on the bicycle, the drivetrain. Not just shifting the drivetrain, reimagining the entire experience of the drivetrain. The first question we asked, what if we took a page from the fastest wheeled vehicles on the planet? This is how you open the road.
And welcome back to the 66th edition of the Men's Little 500 here at Bill Armstrong Stadium in beautiful Bloomington, Indiana. I'm Sam Rumps along with Kevin Highland for WIUX. Stephen Gomez sits to my right, Pam Lobig down on the field. And Stephen, what have you seen so far from this race?
Absolutely. It's been exciting racing so far. I think the high point up until this point has been SAE going down and the pack applying a little of a pressure. It's been a pretty quick race so far. We're seeing a lot of quick lap times, as fast as 30, 31-second laps, and everyone's willing to put in a little work, and it's been a good race up so far, and hopefully we'll continue.
All right, so as we look back to the track, Black Key Bulls with the lead after this last lap.
We've scored 95 laps, and it's 95 laps.
So it's an interesting balance that some of these teams are going to do. You want to be on the front, you want to stay safe, but you also don't want to use up all the energy. So, obviously being in the first position is the safest. Teams in front of you aren't going to crash, but, when you're on the front, you're using up the most energy. So, you want to find a good balance between staying safe and using not too much energy.
Up here in the press box, Bachelor, Ben Higgins, champagning and campaigning, walking around, getting all the handshakes, getting a picture even with the police force, making his rounds.
Is that Jesse Eisenberg over there, the actor?
Where at?
In the IU hat? Maybe not.
No, I don't think so. Is it?
It is Jesse.
Wow.
Looks like Lex Luthor made it to Little 5 this year.
Lex Luthor, Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not going to lie, Social Network, one of my favorite movies of all time. Very cool stuff.
Celebrities galore up here.
He looks as nerdy in person as he does on camera.
And by celebrities galore, you mean two.
We've got 2014 Little 500 winner Stephen Gomez as well. Don't
That's
forget
very
that.
true. We also have Sam Rumsa of WIUX in the booth. So
And one day in April's Thomas Miller.
Very true.
Wow, we're the best, guys. All right. In terms of the racing, I think Wright's making another attempt to unlap themselves. They've got an honest third of a lap already down, and the pack is kind of slowing down to 40-plus second laps, and Wright is hammering away. So, yeah, they've already made up about a third of the lap, and they're going in for an exchange right now, and they're putting on their team leader and captain 4-year rider, Evan Zaire. And like we mentioned earlier, like the pack probably like Wright is good and they're a contender, but they're not gonna go deep in the well to bring Wright cycling back. Maybe if it was an SAE, a Cutters, a Beta, maybe you would not let them unlap themselves, but there's not too much focus on bringing that back.
As Grego goes for the exchange, kicking up a lot of dust there by their pit as they got hard on the brakes.
Guys, I'm not sure, but I think I see Chris West in the Phi Delta Theta pit. I think he's drinking a Hams.
Great.
I didn't think you were allowed to bring beer here, but Phi Delta beats to its own drum, I guess.
Where are we seeing this?
It's in the Phi Delta pit, the blue pit. Chris West is their coach. He was a 3-year rider.
In the white shirt down there?
Yeah. I think it's he's got
the hat on.
Yeah, I don't know why he would bring Hams. He's an adult; he can buy better beer. But more power to you, Chris.
I did not see this.
Going for an economic feel, Hams.
Born in the land of sky blue waters.
Maybe he just has an affinity for sky blue waters, Gomez.
It might be a fraternity thing. I'm not sure. Maybe it's one of the alumni just passed it
Maybe
to
he
him.
wants to stay hydrated, so he wants to drink a beer that's 90% water.
As we get the cross flags.
I think that's Reed Wilson at 3PH on the front right now, getting nice separation. I'm really liking 3PH's race so far. They're getting great gaps, and that's what you get when you're a contender and a good team, but you might not be the top 3 pre-race favorites. People are going to let you do those things, and maybe if an SAE makes a big move, the field is going to be all over it. They're going to collaborate. They got the people on the fence telling them, hey, you need to mark that. So maybe a less recognizable team like 3PH is going to be given some liberties that other teams wouldn't.
As here comes BKB. Sigma Nu in second. Now they will regain the lead with Black Key.
Oh, geez, SAE goes down.
Big crash, SAE, and into the wall. Oh, no. Oh, no. Sig App hard into the wall in turn
Black
number
Key
1.
Bulls escapes. That's Beta Theta Pi. SAE. Cutters is down. 3PH. Oh, my God, just got broken up. Delta's
Thankfully,
up.
the rider for Sig App is getting up because he went hard into the wall, and he's calling.
That was it.
So if you're SIG App, you got to bring a bike there immediately. You're losing time. If you do another 20 seconds, they're going to get lapped. You got to get on the. You have to get on the track
running the
immediately.
bike over to his teammate.
This could be a defining moment of this race.
That was a scary sight right there for SIG App. So thankful the riders getting up all right, because that was a nasty crash into that wall.
So let's take stock where we're at. I see Phi Delt. They're in good position. They're leading. I also see Delts. They're also there. Grey Goat's fine. And then we see Cutters and Black Key
Sigma
Bulls
Nu.
about a straightaway down. So the race is totally wide open right now. So,
wow.
Yeah. So Phi Delt has about a quarter of a lead along with Delts. And then we have Black Key Bulls with Xavier Martinez on.
Horrible luck from Joe Krahulik today. Second time he's gone down. And if it were a smaller statured racer, they might not be okay. Krahulik got ran into by another bike while he was standing up on the track. We've seen Krahulik take some abuse from the track today.
Right.
Tough as nails, not even hunched over, not grimacing.
No, he's a tank. That dude feels no pain. He's focused. He wants to win this race, and nothing's going to stop him. If I'm not mistaken, what we saw there is I think SAE just slid out. So if you're looking at the track, it's become more and more dry, as we addressed earlier in the race. So as this track becomes more dry, it becomes harder to keep your line. Your back wheel's going to kind of slide out. So what I think happened there, if I'm not mistaken, there might have been overlapping, but I think SAE just kind of slid out, and they took down a lot of other good teams too. So
Green flag is out.
this is a critical part of the race. So Phi Delt's on its own in front, and they're hammering away.
Taking a big lead, about a half of a turn lead.
So this is a critical part of the race. So Phi Delt, they might be going for a lap right here. Delts does not have Luke Tormelon on the bike, so they're going to try and get him on and bring this back. And Xavier Martinez of Black Key Bulls is bringing it in.
So 103 laps complete, and a large lead for the gentlemen of Phi Delta Theta. Sigma Nu coming up in second, and then Fiji in third, Delta Tau Delta in fourth.
So this is critical. So these teams, the Sig Eps and all these other teams that went down, you need to make up this gap to the Phi Delts and the Delts immediately, as Delts is with Black Key Bowls and Cutters and SAE. So there's a huge group together as Phi Delt has about a straightaway lead. So I'm anticipating this coming back together. But yeah, Xavier Martinez of Black Key Bowls and the Delta Tau Delta rider are collaborating, working together, trying to bring Phi Delt back as Phi Delt goes into exchange as they bring Rob Lee on the bike.
So as we get to the 105th lap, we're going to send it back down to the infield and Pam Lobig, an interview with Dave Blaze. Pam?
I'm here with Dave Blaze, the inspiration for the all-time classic Breaking Away. Dave, you were a rider in this race from the late 50s and early 60s, and you're still coming back. Can you talk a little bit about what Little Five means to you?
Well, for me, it was a moment of self-discovery. I didn't believe that I could do this. I tried to get out of doing it in the first place, and when I finally consented to go out and try, I surprised myself, and for me it was an epiphany. It was the first time in my life when I asked myself, gee, I wonder what I could do if I'd actually try at something. And so it not only led me through a nice career of cycling, but it opened me up in so many other ways as well. It gave me a lot of self-confidence that I never had prior.
It's wonderful. And Dave was sharing a story with me. He said his house was kind of doubting if he was going to be ready for the race and asking him, what did you do to prove to them that you were ready for the race?
Well, one night we at the training track that we trained on, I was to race the rest of my team. And the members of the house were betting that I'd get lapped every 7 laps. Well, I was lapping them about every 4, 120 laps straight, and I would race against everybody out there. I would let teams lead the part of the lap, and then I'd pop around and beat them to the line every lap for 120 laps straight. And of course, we would have kept going to complete the whole 200, except that it was getting dark and workout people closed the track. So that pretty much silenced my critics at that time.
Wonderful. And you've been timing some of the laps of the teams today. What can you say about the race today so far?
Well, it's been a very exciting race, as it usually is of late. And too bad we had that accident a few laps ago. But yeah, it's very competitive, and I'm glad to see that the packs have formed ever since the days I rode, and that makes for a faster and more competitive race.
And out of the teams today, do you have a specific favorite or someone you think's going to win?
Not really. I just like to see a good race. And I feel like anybody that ever rode in this race is a brother.
Absolutely. The Little 500 family. Back to you guys in the booth.
All right. Thank you, Pam. Great interview with Dave Blaze as we are back in the booth. Sam Rumps along with Kevin Highland looking over the wall out on the track, along with Stephen Gomez as we look back out to the track behind us.
So a little update. We had that little exciting crash. I think hopefully everyone's okay. Everyone got up, but the pack has all come back together, and no one really broke away. But the main thing here is Sig Ep is about a third of a lap down, and they are time trialing to get back on. As we see, Black Key Bowls has a little bit of a gap right now, and Sig Ep is just burying themselves trying to get back in this race, along with Wright Cycling. And it's interesting to note that Wright and Sig Ep, they're about 20 meters apart, and they're not really working together. Usually when a team like this is kind of off the back, you'd expect a little more collaboration, work together, share the draft to try and make up this gap.
Xavier Martinez was pulling away there, kind of reeled back in by the field as he and SAE look to make exchanges.
Cutters now takes the lead as they go into turn 1. Lap 112 here, nearly an hour and 10 minutes in.
So I think a trend we're seeing is these teams on the front stretch, the Cutters, the Black Key Bowls, the Phi Delts, the SAEs, they're queuing off each other. They're marking them. They're saying, hey, I don't want to be the first to exchange. You exchange first. So a lot of times one of these teams will go in for an exchange, and then the next team, they'll stay out another lap until they bring the bike back in.
So Cutters coming in for an exchange. That was a good exchange. They got back on the bike and still in the lead.
All right, so I'm seeing a lot of these riders kind of swerve as they enter turn 1 there. So I think there the track is really drying up. It's getting harder to hold your line and keep your back wheel straight. So an area to watch this race as maybe a place that could potentially have more crashes.
The track is pretty loose down there. We saw a pretty big crash. Sig Epp going face first into the wall, which was a scary moment. We're glad to see him get back up.
I mean, all these guys out here, they're warriors, you know. It doesn't matter what happened. You know, it's going to take a stretcher to get these guys out of there. So all those riders that went down, they got right back up and they got on their bikes. You know, they put a whole year of preparation into this one moment, and they're not going to let a wall, a sliding out wheel stop them.
And Gomez, bring us through the mindset of riders right now. Obviously, it's easy to get amped up at the end of the race. It's easy to get amped up with the fanfare at the beginning of the race. But as a rider, where's your mentality at right now, and what are your coaches telling you?
Absolutely. Like, you prepared physically the whole year for it. But today it's almost more of an emotional day. The emotions, the drama of it, it's all coming together when you have all these different things in one place. It just becomes a really special moment. So in terms of preparation, like these guys, like I said, they're warriors. Nothing is stopping them. These guys all want to win this race. Like, they've dedicated a huge portion of their college careers to win this race, and nothing's going to stop that.
How aware are you of the fanfare that's going on right now, the music that's playing, the crowd cheering, what's going on in the infield? How aware are you of that as a rider?
Well, it depends if you ask. That if you're waving at the crowd, you're probably aware of that. But most of these
How
guys.
How about yourself, personally?
Oh,
as
personally,
a rider?
I looked over at the pit sometimes to Coach Val, who we saw earlier, and he would just write "no fear" out on there. I saw that once, and I said, all right, I'm not looking at the pit anymore. I was dialed in. I was doing my job. I was. So much of this is mental too. Like, you're constantly taking stock of these other teams. All right, where are my competitors at? Like, is someone off the back? Who's trying to burn here? Where do I need to be? Do I need to move up? Do I need to move back? So you are aware of your surroundings, but for the most part, you're dialed in and you're focused on the task at hand.
115 laps complete.
So
Delta Todd Delta going for a burnout.
Delta have been getting great separation all day.
Yeah.
And it's as you mentioned earlier, Sam, that's one of the benefits of pitting over there is teams are a little more likely to let you go when you're starting your big burn out of turn 4 as opposed to turn 2.
So they go for an exchange. Now SAE accelerating quickly as SAE is going to go with a single bike exchange, it looks like, in the pink.
We just saw, again, SAE calling off right. We've seen a lot of chatter between those two today. They've been getting in one another's way.
All right, a little update on the SIG Apps who are trying to make back a lap. They're actually losing ground. So they are only a quarter lap in front of the pack. So they are about three quarters of a lap behind, but the pack is about to catch them. And as we've noticed from Wright, when that pack catches you in your lap, it is exceedingly hard to get it back.
So tough. Wright, like you were just talking about, now making an exchange of riders. That's going to be going from Riley.
And a rider is down for the team down there. Gray Goats with a crash.
So I think we saw Beta Theta Pi get caught up in that mix too. So they're back in the pack and riding very nicely as they enter the treacherous turn 1 where that wreck occurred.
Beta just seems like they're going under the radar. We've seen them there almost the whole race, but still somehow feels like they're just keeping such a low profile in this race. Really none of the sprint outs we've seen from Beta, if they're on top of the field, they're just controlling the pace nicely. It's been a fairly fast race, and Beta's been staying there the whole time.
Absolutely. They were kind of a question mark for me entering the race. They're obviously a good team, but would they have the depth to make it there at the end? And I'll tell you what, if they're at the end, Kyle Knight is a very, very good sprinter. He's made it to the finals of Missing Out before. He's a third-year rider. He's a senior. He's a Riders Council member. He's one of the most experienced riders in the race. So if Kyle Knight of Beta Theta Pi is there at the end, it could be something to watch out for.
And right now we see Jake Hartmeister on the bike for SAE. SAE in front right now, getting passed by Fidel, who looks like they're burning out. But SAE, how about the effort from them? How about the toughness going down 2 times today and still being able to stay in this race? The only other team who's really in contention at the beginning of the day who's gone down twice is Wright, and we've seen how that's affected Wright. So SAE, an incredibly tough performance to stay at the lead pack and to be pushing the pace right now.
In the lead right now is Interturn 1. Now Black Key Bulls will take the lead at lap 120.
You know, it's a 200-lap race, as we mentioned, and at some point, something's going to go wrong. You know, you're going to have to overcome adversity, and SAE's had to do it twice, and if it hasn't happened to you yet, it's probably going to happen. So they've paid their dues, so hopefully they can have a clean race the rest of the day.
The SAE rider who's involved in the crash.
Yeah, so it looks like
getting back to his pit, and that's Joe Krahulik.
He's got bandaged up on his arm, but he doesn't look the little bit phased at all. He's got cinders all over his jersey, but I think he's ready to get back in the race. As we see Beta Theta Pi moving in on the inside, and a lot of times it's the pack rotation can be interesting. It's the individuals on the inside. They're going to pull up and pull through, and then when you get to the front, typically you're going to move over to the right and let the next rider advance. So you're going to kind of see a natural rotation from within the pack.
Sig Ep is just struggling.
I know. It's you know, this
shame.
It's
really
a really good team, and they work very, very hard. You know, they're the defending champions. And, hey, they're battling. There's no quit in that team.
They were in the black jerseys last year. Is now Cutters and BKB breaking away, about a 3 to 4 bike length lead for Cutters as they sprint down the backstretch and into turn number 3.
This is what I was kind of talking about earlier was these teams are queuing off each other. When one team's going to exchange, the other's also going to exchange. So I think we're seeing the Cutter rider, he's going in. Black Key Bulls wants to market. He wants to make it difficult for the Cutters rider who's getting on the bike now. He wants to make it hard for him when he gets back in the pack as Black Key Bulls exchanges.
Just checking it right now, guys. How many teams right now are on the lead lap?
As we look here, let's see. It is 11 teams. Forest, the last team on the lead lap. Cutters, Black Key Bulls, Beta Theta Pi, Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Phi Delt, Grey Goat, Delta Tau Delta in 7th, Sigma Nu in 8th, 3PH in 9th, Fiji in 10th, and Forest in 11th. That rounds out the teams on the lead lap. Actually, now listed with 13 teams on the lead lap, with Wright and Sigma Phi Epsilon as well.
Forest, nice showing from them. Qualified 23rd, not tons of experience. Only one rider, Joe Hunt, having previous experience, 3 juniors and a senior for them. So Forest Cycling with a nice showing tonight.
Yeah, they're riding a great race so far. And it's kind of we give an update on these teams that have been almost lapped, trying to lap themselves, specifically Sig, Ep, and Wright Cycling. What I don't get, guys, is they're 20 meters apart from each other, and they're not working together. They're in no man's land, and you're doing all the work yourself. So at this point, you know, we're seeing Wright Cycling about 20 meters ahead. It might be advantageous to him to kind of sit up and wait for the Sig Ep rider. So instead of doing all the work yourself, you know, you can kind of share the burden.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how big does the draft play into effect?
It's critical. It's critical. So if you are sitting second wheel behind someone in the front, you are saving about 30% more energy.
Wow.
So especially at the end of the race, like we saw in the women's race yesterday, the AO Pi rider let it out, and so she's doing all the work. So Tabitha Sherwood and Kristen Bignell, they're sitting in, and they're just sucking wheel. You know, they're working hard still, but not as much, and so it's a critical factor in racing today. Then that's mainly the reason you're going to see all these big packs and the single file lines.
As crossing the line in the lead with 126 laps scored complete is Cutters, followed by Grey Goat and SAE, then Black Key Bulls.
All right, so interesting to note that Phi Delt had a little bit of a tough exchange there and a tough set. So the Phi Delt rider who got on, he's got about a straightaway gap he needs to make up. This is when it gets in dangerous territory. When you start exchanging off the back of the pack each time, you know, it takes your rider, it takes some time to get up to speed. And if you exchange off the back, that's how you end up getting lapped. So hopefully Phi Delt can make this gap up and get back with the leaders.
Gomez, earlier you talked if Delts was going to be in this race that Tormelon would have to eat up a significant load. Have you been able to keep an eye on him and see how many laps he's eaten up for them right now?
You know, we're through about 127 so far, and just a ballpark estimate, I bet he's ridden, I don't know, probably about maybe 65, 70 of those laps. So not only does he have endurance, but he has great top-end speed, and that's the effort they're going to need out of him today. So if you're this Delts team, you know,
you want to get as much out of your 2, 3, 4 riders. So if you can put them in at a slow part of the race and just kind of have them sit in the pack and eat laps up, that's what you're looking to do. Delts definitely wants a sprint finish today.
As Wright back a lap down, Sig Epp just about to go a lap down as Black Key Bulls right on the back wheel, trying to put them a lap down. SAE there in second as they head down the back stretch.
All right, we're going to get a little Bachelor Ben update here. He was up here at the press box with us, but then he has left, and word is he went to go meet with his stylist from ABC's to pick out his outfit for tonight. Oh, there it is. And the pack made contact with Sig Epp, and Sig Epp is officially lapped now. And that's tough to watch for the former champions. You know, we're 130 laps in, and it's going to be a pretty daunting task to bring it back.
And it's tough right now because not only is Sig Epp an entire lap back, but for half a lap there, they were doing all the work for the pack. So Sig Epp really looks to be out of this race for the time being.
Right, and that's a deflating feeling, guys. Like, you know, I've seen teams get lapped before. I've been in the pits with them, and after you get lapped, it's, you know your fate. You know how hard it is to get unlapped, and, you know, it must be a pretty tough place for the Sig Epp pit right now.
So as we get to lap 130, right before we take a break, we'll run you through the top 5. Black Key Bulls, Sigma Alpha Epsilon Cutters, Beta Theta Pi, and Sigma Nu. As we take a break here at the 66th Men's Little 500 here on WIUX and IUSF. We're back. Hello, welcome back to the 2016 Men's Little 500. We've done a little bit of seat shifting here. I'm Sam Rumsa, sitting on my right, Spencer Gomez, and joining us, the Bachelor, Ben Higgins, the Grand Marshal, and an IU grad. Ben, how are you?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I'm doing great. This is the best place to be right now.
So how's it been with being the Grand Marshal for Little 5? What's kind of been gone into that experience for you? What have you done?
Well, so Lauren's back with me. So she's getting to see Indiana University for the first time, which is
Excellent.
a big deal for me. You can't really explain Little 5 until you're here. So I can tell her, hey, hon, we have to go back to IU. They're asking us to be a part of the biggest event, you know, in college, in the whole university. And she's like, what is this? I said, a big bike race. She's like, I don't get it. Now she's getting it. But being the Grand Marshal has included a lot of things. I've gotten to learn more about, you know, just exactly what this event does for people all across the state and for the university, for the scholarship programs, for the philanthropy. Like, this is a really good thing going on.
Absolutely. So, Ben, have you been able to watch the race much? You know, what are you seeing out there? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a prediction for the race?
Well, I mean, I'm not against the Black Key Bulls. I do like them a lot. I have a buddy that actually rode for them, coaches for them now. I saw him down there. But really, I'm just kind of a spectator today. I just am enjoying seeing all these students that are, you know, going to be alumni soon, just like me, riding this race. It's been a lot of fun. I have been watching. I'm learning the strategies. I saw the big wreck. There's a lot going on.
All right, so you were a star on reality television. Now you're transitioning back to normal life. Okay?
Yeah.
So what's that like, kind of being a celebrity now?
A star on reality television. Man, is that a compliment? But no, it's, you know, it's been great. Honestly, the show was a really good thing for me. It's added the opportunity to be here. This is something I wouldn't have been able to do as the Grand Marshal without the show. I've met my fiance Lauren, who is the best part of my world. So there's been a lot of good things about it. Transitioning back now, life is getting more normal. Normal is relative, right? It's always going to change, but a little more slow. We're able to be with family more. My family came out here as well, and just kind of get back to the routines that we've always had before the show, maybe.
Can you talk about your experience at IU? You're a SPIA grad, I understand.
I am a SPIA grad. I lived in Foster McGee. I would give the room out, but I did that once, and Indiana University messaged me and said, please don't do that. People are knocking on the door of that room now. But I was in Foster McGee. I graduated from SPIA with a business management degree. Indiana was a place that not only did I build a lot of good friendships, but I got a great education. And I think I was talking to some students here a little bit ago, and I said the best thing about IU was, yes, the education's incredible, but the education also goes socially and prepares you for the real world and for the people, for operating in this real world. Indiana University did a lot of that for me.
Well, terrific, Ben. We're really excited you're here, and you're a really good example of Indiana University on the reality show.
So are you guys. So thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for joining the broadcast, Ben.
Hey,
nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
As we look back towards the race, as we just passed 4 o'clock here on WIUX and the IUSF broadcast, Cutter's in the lead, 63 laps to go.
And I know your cousin, Becca Price. I grew up around
As we look at the peloton on the backstretch entering turn number 3. Cutter's coming around turn 3. $137 laps scored complete. As after that last lap, Cutters, Black Key Bulls, Gray Goat, Beta Theta Pi, Phi Gamma Delta, your top 5.
So we're seeing Cutters at the front of the race with Gray Goat glued to their wheel, and Black Key Bulls is kind of closing that gap right there, followed closely by Sigma Alpha Epsilon.
Very cool to interview a reality star and Indiana University graduate.
You know, I'm a big fan, and I hope he did not take offense to that, because that would break my heart.
Gomez, what are you talking about? What could he have taken offense to?
Oh, I called him a reality star, and he was a little taken aback by that. Guys, I'm shaking over here. Yeah, Ben, very firm handshake too.
Yes. Gomez, self-awareness is a very important part of life. So, if
I've got a lot to learn there.
If he was offended by the term reality star, then self-awareness maybe not the strong suit.
But hey, he went on this reality show where it's easy to kind of look like a jerk, and he was a really good representation of Indiana as he grew up in Warsaw, and he was a gentleman to all the ladies, and hey, we wish him and his fiancee Lauren the best.
We had both Sam and I talked to Lauren and her mom yesterday. Couldn't have been nicer.
SAE also with the exchange.
SAE with the exchange here in front of us in the front stretch.
And we're still seeing Wright Cycling, dude. They're still fighting the good fight. They're still trying to unlap themselves. Those guys are not giving up. Despite how it ends today, this is going to be a very hard effort and something to be really proud about.
The field's so scattered all over the place right now. Really no solid pack anywhere right now.
Right. 3PH getting good separation again as Fidel's trying to bring that back, and Cutters gets in very nicely to the back right behind Delt's wheels as
oh, look at the acceleration from Fidel there.
Ooh, that's Ryan Romanesco, I believe, and that dude knows how to turn it over.
You can see Romanesco there in frame, just flying around the corner. About to come out of the backstretch now, trying to get 3PH right in his sights.
We're seeing Delts do their typical right out of 4, so they're going to see them. This is something Corny talks about a lot. So they swing right. So they start their burn on the very far right, so no one can grab their wheel and go with them. So they start on the right, and they gradually work their way in on the straightaway. And, Delts is getting great separation right now, We're almost 3/4 of the way through the lap, and, hey, they look as strong as any other team out here. Another interesting point is in last year's race, SAE made a huge move right in the middle, and they almost lapped the field. And so I was interested to see if SAE was going to make that a similar move this year. And They haven't up to this point. So what that's indicating to me is that they're kind of waiting for that sprint finish. They feel really confident in their 1-2 with Joe and Andy Krahulik, and they're saying, hey, no one's stopping us at the sprint.
Again, if you want to get involved with the broadcast, tell us where you're listening from. Any memories of Little 500, who you're rooting for today. If Stephen Gomez is your all-time favorite Little 500 rider, whatever you have to say, make sure to tweet at us at WIUX Sports. That's WIUX Sports on Twitter. Be sure to chime in, and we'll read off where you're listening from, who you're rooting for, and any experiences and memories you have with Little 500 and why it's so important to you.
And Pam was wondering where Lambda Chi Alpha is in the field. Still looking. They're in 16th position.
You know,
5 laps down.
Another really interesting aspect of the race is kind of the camaraderie amongst Little 5 community. So, you know, you have your own team. You're obviously very close to them. But there's Little 5 community. It's almost a subculture with NIU. All these people are friends. You know, they all know each other very well. And, you know, even this weekend, you know, you see people you used to ride with and great memories that you can share with them.
I've heard the comparison to Little 500 riding being similar to the time commitment, the work of playing a Division I sport. Gomez, how would you compare the two?
You know, I can't speak to the Division I sports, but I know from training, like it's a consuming endeavor. It really is. I mean,
how many hours a week, just for the viewers and listeners, how many hours a week are you putting in, and what kind of training is it throughout the year?
Sure. I mean, it depends for probably the top tier teams. These guys are riding easily over 200 miles a week, 15 hours of in the saddle. So that's just not 15 hours a week. You know, that does not include prep time. It does not include strategizing. It does not include all the extra stuff that goes into it. And, you know, not only is it a commitment physically, emotionally, you're putting all your time, and, you know, it's something you really care about, and it's also costly, and that's a huge barrier to enter the race, you know. All the kind of more of the top tier teams, they have their own road bikes. They race year round. They travel. They do road races. So it's also challenging in terms of a financial aspect. But yeah, it's an all-encompassing effort.
Worth it if you're able to get the win, though.
Absolutely. And hey, even if you don't get the win, I always tell people, like, don't be defined by your place. You know, hey, even if you get, you know, second place, like the DG team yesterday, like they rode an incredible race. That's something you can be proud of. And, you know, you have this incredible experience at IU that's always going to draw you back. And so it's hard in the moment and it hurts, but if you don't win, you know, life moves on and you still have this incredible special experience at IU that'll kind of define your college career.
Right now we're seeing Sig Ep catch up a little bit to the pack. A few laps ago, they were well behind a half lap. Now they've slightly increased it. It will be interesting to see if they can make it up there. It's going to be very tough to do, but with over 50 laps left, we'll see what Sig Ep can do. And the one thing we were really critical of them earlier for is not working with a pack right now. There's a pack of about 5 of them or 4 of them, depending on how you look at it. CSF also working with them to try to get back into this race.
Yeah, that's Charlie Hicks trying to bring this gap back, and that dude is a workhorse. And typically, you know, you're going to grab the bar and the bottom handlebars. And Charlie Hicks, he's resting his elbow on the top, similar to for kind of more of a time trial effort. So the coach, I believe Brian Gavette is their coach in the Sig Ep pit. He probably told him, hey, Charlie, I want you to go out there and do like a 10-lap set and even effort and bring out your best time trial.
A crash in turn number 4, just as we were talking about Sig Ep. They go down along with CSF in the entrance to turn number 4.
And, yeah, that's Charlie Hicks. He can't ride the bike. I'm not sure what happened there, but his wheel is bent. But, hey, there's no quitting this guy. He's trying to ride through, and hopefully they've seen it, and they're trying to bring the bike over to him. But, yeah, they're going to be kind of swallowed up by the pack here. It's been a tough day for Sig Ep. He's got that bent wheel, but, yeah, he's still riding. There's no give up in that team.
Nice move from Greg Goat. Almost caught in that accident as well as CSF was staying in the inside part. A very last-second maneuver to get around him there. Almost brought down Grey Goat as well.
So unfortunate to see that. A second crash on the day for the defending champions as their bid to win it goes out the window.
Guys, I'm still not over the Ben Higgins interview. I hope he liked me. I really did.
Oh, boy.
All right, we're seeing a big pack here with 3PH on the front. Or, yeah, Beta Theta Pi's got a little bit of a gap, but I believe that's 3PH kind of closing it into them.
3PH in second, Phi Dalton third.
The crazy thing about Ben Higgins' connection to Indiana is that we have a legitimate A-list actor up here in the booth, and Ben Higgins is by far getting more attention than him. Jesse Eisenberg's up here. Jesse Eisenberg's a solid A-list actor. has some really great performances in a number of movies. He's about to be in the new Batman vs. Superman movie. He's getting tons of play in those commercials. And still, Ben Higgins taking all the glory in.
You know, a lot of celebrities and A-list have come here throughout the years. I remember, I think back in 2007 when Barack Obama was campaigning for the presidency, he came here, and this was one of the stops on his campaign trail.
Lance Armstrong also been at past races.
There's a picture of Barack Obama coming through at Knicks, actually, when he made a stop in Bloomington.
If President Obama were to stop back in Bloomington and he were to, you know, reside here for a few years, what do you think his favorite establishment in Bloomington would be? Is he a Knicks guy?
You know, I could see Barack liking the Tap. You know,
I was gonna say that. Yeah,
you know, he'd want to converse with you.
Oh, the nice selection, the detailed menu.
But I think
incredible appetizers.
I think the president he's got a little sports in him too. He's not afraid to go into the jungle on the second floor.
Oh, I like that.
Jungle's a little bit too crazy for me.
He can transform after he gets out of the Oval Office. He can transform back from President Obama to Barrio. Gonna have some fun in the jungle. Find him there on a Thursday night, perhaps.
Back to the race. 49 laps to go.
We see Fidelt on the front right there. Yeah, Fidelt was down about a quarter lap, but you know, within the senior leadership of Roblin Ramonesco, they brought it back. And SAE's glued to the wheel. So at this point, you know, kind of taking stock, 3/4 of the race here. Basically, all the teams we expect to be here are here, except probably SIGEP at this point.
So we look at lots of customized jerseys for different fraternities and sororities. The one that's catching my eye, guys, I don't know about you, these Sigma Chi ones reminiscent of the 1990s rainbow jerseys, the DuPont jersey Jeff Gordon used to don in the 1990s. Those,
great.
The little 5 jerseys that look like the Phillies jerseys also down there. Don't know the affiliation, can't quite figure that one out. I think that might be Fidel.
Where is this?
Down to our right, the little 5 jerseys that look like Philadelphia Philly jerseys. Those are fantastic. Also, we have the Alpha Phi ones. Let's see what fraternities on the front if they turn around there. And Sigma Chi, I think those are supposed to be Charlotte Hornets jerseys.
Ooh, as we see Nick Hartman making a big move on the outside. And typically, you know, you're going to see teams burn and go in for an exchange about a half lap. But he's doing a full lap attack right now, which speaks to his strength and his confidence in himself as Cutters goes and grabs that wheel.
Along with 3PH, as Cutters is making its move into turn number 3.
Yeah, I think Nick Hartman's just trying to get a little bit of face time. The Cutter rider wants to get on that too.
Here comes Hartman.
Okay, so now Jason Fowler of Cutters, their coach, he's telling him, hey, you got to go right now. So he's glued to the wheel, and I think this might be Cutters trying to make a move, which seems a little odd to me at lap 155. I think they're trying to employ their 2008 strategy where about this time they made a huge move. They got about a half-lap lead. They didn't lap the field, but they maintained that half-lap lead and ended up winning the race.
And an awful exchange for Black Key Bulls as it took the rider a few seconds all the way down deep into turn number 1 to get on the bike. Now they're about 3/4 of a straightaway behind.
Oh, this is not the time you want to have a bad exchange because Cutters are making a move, and if you can't get aboard the train that's catching them, that pack, you are in big trouble. So this is Xavier Martinez on the track, and he's the 13th place ITTer. He should be able to bring it back, but that's not a good timing of when you want to have a bad exchange because Cutters are laying it down right now, I think. I think this is them trying to make a move. But SAE's having none of it. SAE's bringing this back. They're saying, nope, too early. We're not ready yet.
Another team we haven't mentioned a ton, Grey Goat, really solidly in this right now. 3rd place, riding right behind that wheel of Joe Krahulik. Reeling Cutters back in.
So I think I saw Cutters coach Jason Fowler there tell him, all right, it's time to sit up. They made a little move, it didn't stick, and let's regroup and try again later.
BKB really got the lead. BKB got bailed out by that. Xavier Martinez, just a freshman, would have been a tall task to ask him to rein back in that group. Martinez, a very strong rider. But if
he's a straightaway behind, however, from the lead.
I mean, this is getting interesting. So now they've got some firepower. You've got SAE, Cutters, Grey Goat, and Fidel all together, and we've got some stragglers like Delts, Black Key Bulls, and other teams behind. So if these guys get together, so yeah, they're going to start working together, and they want to make this a 3-team race.
So the 3 right now as they go into turn number 1, SAE, Cutters, and Grey Goat,
I think
with
Grey
Phi
Goat's
Delta in 4th, and then Beta Theta Pi and Grey Goat in 5th and 6th.
So Grey Goat's losing a little bit. They're losing that wheel. And when you get out of the draft, it becomes really hard, and you're doing all that work on your own. So this is interesting. So all the 3 teams are kind of separated, and none of them are drafting. If I were them, I'd try and get organized with my coaches and hey, this is the time to make a move. But, yeah, this race is getting blown open right now.
That's got to be one of the faster laps of the day there from Krahulik.
Yeah, and so I think he hands off to, I think, Mitch Sassman there as Cutters is still going. So they're making their move right now. Let's see if they have the strength to keep it, though. Because, yeah, Black Key Bowls is in no man's land. 3PH is trying to catch him. Beta Theta Pi is trying to catch him. So basically we're seeing just strung out, no draft. Everyone's working by themselves in order. Phi Delta Theta, Delta Tau Delta, Beta Theta Pi, 3PH, Black Key Bowls, and SIGEP behind them. So everyone's just kind of in no man's land doing their own work as Cutters goes in for an exchange.
Gomez, like you said about 2 laps ago, it looked like Cutters was going to sit up and kind of let everybody get back with them. That never happened. Push the pace as they make the exchange right now. Clean exchange for them.
I believe they're putting on their rookie rider, Eric, who got 10th place at ITT. So he's a very strong rider, and he's going to connect right now with SAE. He's not even waiting for him. He says, see you later, SAE. We're making our move right now, and he's got fresh legs. SAE's been on a couple of laps, and wow, that was impressive.
Really pushing the pace here, still with 40 left.
Yeah,
this is from Valparaiso, Indiana.
This is getting dangerous right now. Eric's got the legs to do it. He's turning it over. He's just moving the engine, and Jason Fowler's telling him, "Time to go, man. Time to go." SAE's going backwards right now. You got to get that. You got to get him off the bike and put a fresh rider on.
40 laps to go, and it's about a half a turn lead.
So we'll see if this is able to stick, because 40 laps is a lot of laps. That's still a lot of time as teams are exchanging. I think Black Key Bolts just put Spencer Brockla on, and Beta Theta Pi and 3PH have connected. So they're working together.
As Cutters with a big lead here.
So I think this lead, it's we're up to nearly a straightaway on Delts and SAE. You can tell Delts doesn't want to bring this back. They know they've got one big play to make with Luke Tormelin, and they do not want to make it with 38 laps to go. So they're saying, hey, SAE, you went 1-2 at missing out. It's your job to bring this back as they pull through there. And, hey, Cutters are just hammering away. I think he's losing a little bit of steam, but he's still turning it over pretty nice. As Black Key Bowls has connected with Beta Theta Pi and 3PH, so hopefully they can start working together and catch Phi Delta Theta and bring it back, as Cutters is still extending this lead, and they're keeping the rider out there for another lap.
Grey Goat coming in for exchange. They're in 4th position. SAE in 2nd.
So
Black Key Bulls is caught back up to Phi Delta Theta and Beta Theta Pi.
So this is interesting. There's still a lot of laps together. My gut says this is going to come back together. But, hey, this Cutters team is strong. They have depth, and they have top-end speed, too. So we'll see if this move sticks. As the rider from Cutters, I believe, Eric, he looks around and he looks over his left shoulder. He wants to gauge to see where the pack is at. And you can tell he's starting to feel a little bit. And I think he kind of wants to come out of the race, and he keeps looking over at his coach, Jason Fowler. And Jason keeps pointing, indicating, nope, you got to keep riding, friend. And, yeah, I think Eric is still extending this lead. This is a very impressive set out of the rookie rider. But, yeah, Black Key Bulls and Phi Delta Theta have dropped 3PH Cycling and Beta Theta Pi. Beta Theta Pi went in for an exchange, and they're about a half lap down right now.
Looks like there's going to be exchange for Cutters here.
So they're doing a bike-to-bike now. This is, as we mentioned earlier, this is typically a little slower. This is a time you could benefit from a rider exchange. I think they're putting Nick Theory on, and Nick's one of the fastest riders in the race, so this is the engine you want to put on to make the big move. So I think this move is starting to come back. Delts has made contact, but Cutters is still forging on. So I think we're going to see a little collaboration. If I'm not mistaken, that's Nick Theory and Luke Tormelin on the bike right now. So that's 2 top 5 ITTers. That's a lot of firepower, and if they can start working together and trade lap poles, this could be really dangerous.
Tormelin's done a great job all race long. We'll see how his legs are in these last 33 laps. but he's done a valiant job keeping Delts right in this race as he takes the lead now from Cutters.
So, there's still a lot of laps left, and if you're a rider like Luke Tormelin or Nick Theory, those are the guys who are probably going to finish the race. So, they don't want to use all their energy, burn all their matches at this point. Hey, we still have 30-plus laps to go, and you don't want to use your big move this early when it could still very well come down to a sprint. And also to note, I'm trying to get to see where SAE is. SAE has also made contact with these guys. So,
SAE in the pink. There goes Delts in the black as we got a 4-team battle for the lead as Delts going for a burnout as they will exchange on the backstretch.
My gut says is it's still going to come back together. At some point, there might be another attack, but Cutters know their attack is not going to stick at this point. So I think this will come back together.
Right now, we're going to check in with viewers and listeners from all around, tweeting into WIUX Sports, sharing stories of Little 5 Pass and where they're watching the race from right now. Alex Graham listening from all over the north side as he brings around Avers Pizza. So listening from right here in Bloomington. Jason Kennedy listening in Chicago, grew up in B-Town and went to IU in the late 80s, early 90s, rooting for SAE. Jim is rooting for SAE from New Albany. Looking at other riders, Dave's watching from Fort Wayne, rode against the BKBs while at Ball State in '73. They dominated them, and he's rooting for them now. That's what he's saying. Bill Borst is rooting for Cutters.
All right, checking back in with the race here. We've got a pack of 5. So these are your leaders right now. It's all come back together. We've got Cutters, followed by Delta Tau Delta, Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Black Key Bulls, and 3PH with Reed Wilson has brought this back together. So here's your leaders. Fidel's going in an exchange. I'd expect them to connect as well. But I'm guessing the winner of this year's race is going to come out of this pack. But yeah, that was definitely some excitement. Kudos to Cutters for making a move early. They broke it open. They didn't want to see a 10-team sprint, 10-up sprint amongst 10 teams, so they made a move and they brought some people down. And yeah, they had to use some effort, expend some energy to do that. But hey, they also hurt some other teams in the process.
Cutters in the lead with 170 laps scored complete. And they're in the qualifying order right now, 1, 2, 3. As Delts in second, but they take the lead going into turn number 1.
I think I saw Cutters pull off there, and Delts literally coasted. It was their turn to pull through, and he wasn't even pedaling.
And the Cutters rider tapping.
Yeah, he's very
right
annoyed.
On the back.
Very annoyed.
As Black Key Bulls falls back to 4th.
So at this place, these guys, they put in a lot of work to bring this break back. They've made some big moves, so I think they're kind of trying to catch their breath a little bit. Because I'm guessing this is not these riders' last set. So they're going to have to go in again. So, yeah, you don't want to burn all your matches at this point.
3PH goes in for the lead. With Black Key Bulls in second, Cutters in third, SAE in fourth, and Delts in fifth.
So
sixth is Phi Delta Theta, and Grey Goat in seventh.
So we've got this pack of 5 of the leaders, and we're seeing Phi Delta Theta with Rob Lee on the bike, about a straightaway gap. And this is going to be tough because I know Phi Delta's hoping to finish with Rob, and if he's got to use all his energy up here to bring this gap back, that could leave him pretty depleted for the sprint finish. And I think they're going for an exchange here.
That's a lap team in Pi Kappa Alpha. They're with the lead pack as Black Key Bulls has the lead.
So, these teams, they're putting in a nice tempo right now. They're riding about 36, 37-second laps, which is fast, but, it's not too crazy fast. So they're trying to maintain their lead at this point, and they don't want other teams to catch on.
So we are commercial-free the rest of the way here from Bill Armstrong Stadium. No more breaks until the end of the race.
I don't know about you guys. I think the biggest surprise of the day for me so far has been 3PH. They've been right there with that front group. That's a team that doesn't have much fanfare around them, a team that we really haven't talked about much. We mentioned them once earlier on in the race. But this is a team that has been right there with the big boys, the top qualifiers, all 174 laps thus far.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, they're in their second year. They were in the top 10 finish last year. But, they didn't have the best spring, probably not the spring they were hoping for. Their team pursuit finish, I believe, was outside the top 10, and they had some good individual time trial results, but nothing to indicate that they'd be having this kind of race. But I know they're led by, I believe, team captain Reed Wilson, and they have other strong riders, and Jake Cohen, and I believe
Mitchell Duke and Matthew Thompson, the other two.
Trio of them from Columbus, Indiana. Jake Cohen, first-year rider, only first-year rider for them right here in Bloomington, Indiana.
And they're all either sophomores or juniors, so you got to think they're going to have a strong team again next year.
So we're seeing a little action here. SAE, I think they're coming in for an exchange, and Cutters is all over it. Cutters have done a really good job this year of marking other teams and not letting them get gaps to exchange with.
Just 25 laps to go as SAE comes in for the exchange. They lead. Cutters in second. Black Key Bulls in third as Black Key Bulls looks to take the lead into turn number 1.
SAE really cruised into that exchange, making sure nothing was going wrong there. Get Joe Krahulik on the bike.
So that was Jake Harmeister who just gave the bike to what we believe is Joe, and Jake's a very solid rider. He's probably their 4th best, so they're getting a great race out of him so far. So it's about 176. I'm not sure if that's going to be his last set, but yeah, I've noticed SAE's done quite a bit of exchanges today. You know, they know where their strength is, and they're not afraid to ride their best riders throughout.
Again, good that you're mentioning these riders, because even yesterday in the women's race, we talked at length about Tabitha Sherwood, but all 3 of her teammates from Phoenix did a fantastic job being able to position her to be able to have that sprint at the end to just edge out that victory. Hopefully we'll get a finish today that's as exciting as we got in the women's race yesterday.
Yeah. She was the obvious story amongst the team, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Her teammates did a ton of the work, and they deserve as much credit as Tabitha for their win. Yeah, I think we're seeing Cutters very active at the front, along with Black Key Bulls. SAE, you know, Delta's content to sit 4th wheel, along with 3PH, who haven't really seen the front. So kind of those first 3 teams are kind of charged with the task of maintaining a decent pace, as they just did I believe, 38-second lap, which is a little slower, as Black Key Bulls makes a move, and Cutters is going to try and cover it.
SAE in third as Black Key Bulls hustles around turn number 2.
Looked like Cutters are going to make an exchange there, but when they realized that Black Key Bulls was making a move, the rider opted to stay on the bike there, right on the back wheel right now. Down turn number 3, it looks like BKB, Cutters, and SAE.
All right, so we've got a crowded exchange here. We've got Black Key Bulls and Cutters exchanging next to each other, and they seem to be kind of marched in a similar lane here. So, yeah, this burn very well covered by Cutters and Sigma Alpha Epsilon, as I believe Xavier Martinez is getting on the bike, and he's going to have a little bit of a gap to close. But those riders are tired after following that very fast lap, which I believe was a 33-second lap to bring in.
Battle making another exchange right now.
So, okay, so we're in the meat of the race right now. There's 20 laps to go. Teams in their pits, their coaches, the student coaches, the riders, they're formulating a game plan. They're saying, how do we want to finish the race? How do we get our sprinter onto the bike with the best possible chance of winning? Which makes me a little surprised that if that is Joe on the bike out there, they're probably going to want to get him out so he can kind of get those fresh legs for a potential sprint.
Delt's on the lead, going around the outside of a pack of lap cyclists. Cutters on the inside, SAE right behind him. As Delt's going to go for the exchange, and that will re-give the lead to Cutters. But SAE right on the inside wheel. So they will take the lead with 20 now coming to 19 laps to go.
Delts did not exchange with a lot of separation, and the pace is kind of hot right now. So the rider who just got on for Delts, they're going to have a hard task of bringing this race back.
So they're about a half a straightaway behind the lead now.
So this is when it's going to get tricky for a team like Delts. You know you want to finish with Luke Tormelin, but at what lap do you want to put him on? If you put him on at 180, then he has to ride 20 very hard laps to finish and sprint. So they're going to really need to utilize their other riders.
We're going to see the strategy for Delts. It's going to be very important coming down the stretch.
All right, so we have 19 laps to go, and no one's made a huge move at this point other than the Cutters. So in the last 20 laps here, I expect someone to really go make an all-out attack, because then it's going to be these riders' last set. And when it's your last set, you've got nothing to lose. You got to leave it all out there.
Really, the front pack slowing it down right now. Looks like they might be trying to conserve some energy before this final sprint.
Just as you say that, Cutters gets back on it.
Exactly, and to
accelerates, and then SAE going around the outside, taking the lead. Black Key Bulls trying to take second. 3PH going into turn number 3 in 4th.
Just to recap, viewers and listeners on these jersey colors, right now SAE in the lead in pink, Black Key Bulls in the white jerseys, indicative of their spring series win. In the green, we have Cutters, and in the blue jerseys, 3PH behind them.
Oh, wait, we got Crowd. He's going to run right into him.
And a bad exchange.
But it's bad.
For Black Key Bulls as Cutters, SAE, and Black Key Bulls get back on the bike.
But it was bad altogether. So they were all there. They're all mixed up. They're all pretty close. So I think we have 3PH in the lead with the Delts, and the SAEs, Black Key Bulls, and the Cutters are going to close together. It's going to come back together. But that was a scary moment as the Black Key Bulls rider was about to run straight into the Cutters exchanging rider.
So here comes 3PH. Now on the outside, Delts. SAE already bridged that gap, and SAE takes the lead coming out turn number 4.
3PH looks like the rider's losing steam right now. They probably want to get him off the bike.
Mitchell Sassman, the rider, the senior out of Carmel, Indiana, in his second Little 500. 6 Little 500s between that team.
So then
quite a bit of experience.
We're seeing a Beta Theta Pi. I believe they were just lapped, so their chances to win the Borg Warner are probably up for this year. But yeah, they rode an impressive race so far. But our winner is exceedingly likely to come out of this group of 5 right there of SAE, Delts, Black Key Bulls, Cutters, and 3PH.
As BKB takes lead on the outside, we've got 5 riders separated by just about 5 bike lengths.
So I think the other riders have cued in that Black Key Bulls wants to exchange now, so they're glued to his wheel. At this point in the race, it becomes ruthless. You're not letting anyone get any separation. You're not going to give an inch into any of your competitors, as Xavier does actually get a gap here.
BKB accelerates into the west turns here at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Just a beautiful day here in Bloomington for a bicycle race. As Black Key Bulls. All right, Charlie Hammond coming off the bike, and they're going to put Spencer Brockla on the bike, who was there last year sprinting for them as SAE takes the lead.
So
Delta in second.
A lot of the teams would expect Spencer to finish the race for Black Key Bulls, considering he has finished the race before. He was on the winning team in 2014. He's got great top-end speed, but then Black Key Bulls putting Spencer on the bike at 190.86 indicates that he's unlikely to finish the race. So look for Spencer to use his big engine and make a move right here, as he's got a little bit of a gap to make up as SAE and Delts are forging the pace on as SAE goes in for an exchange.
Gomez, if it's not going to be Spencer, who would you expect to be on the bike at the end for Black Key Bulls?
I'm guessing team captain Nick Hartman. Nick's been on the team for 4 years. He rode last year. He's a Category 2 road cyclist. He's one of the most experienced, talented riders in the race, and he's also very crafty. He knows how to play other riders to kind of go where he wants to, and he's got great bike handling skills. And when you're riding 31-second laps, having a good bike handler is critical.
So with 13 laps to go, let's take you through a quick full field rundown as we're approaching 2 hours here with 13 now coming to 12 laps to go. Cutters in the lead. Delta Todd Delta in second. Black Key Bulls in third as they qualified. SAE in fourth, 3PH fifth. Grey Goat sixth, Beta Theta Pi seventh, Phi Delta Theta eighth, Sigma Nu in fourth, round out the top 10. Fiji, Sigma Chi, Sigma Phi Epsilon, and Wright are 11 through 14, 15th Delta Chi, 16th Pi Kappa Alpha, 17th Lambda Chi, 18th Theta Chi, 19th CSF, 20th Acacia in their first race back since 2012. 21st Alpha Sigma Phi, Phi Kappa Sigma 22nd, Pi Lambda Phi in 23rd, Pi Kappa Phi in 24th, AE Pi in 25th, Sammy in 26th, Phi Sigma Kappa 27th, Beta Sigma Psi in 28th, 29th Young Pioneer, Young Life 30th, 31st, Delta Sigma Pi, Tau Kappa Epsilon in 32nd, and Zeta Beta Tau in 33rd, as SAE leads it.
So we're seeing lapped riders on the front right now. Beta Theta Pi has been lapped, and now, unfortunately, Phi Delta Theta has been lapped. So your leaders in that third position in the pink jersey, SAE followed by Cutters and Delts, and Black Key Bulls, and 3PH is trying to grab that wheel very at the end. I'm a little afraid that 3PH might be running out of steam here.
It's remarkable how this top group has really just separated themselves from the field. Team like Phi Delta competitive all day. We said the same thing with Beta just a few minutes ago. It looks right now like Delta is going to try to burn out right now, possibly get Luke on the bike with 10 laps left, really try to close it out.
As Beta and Phi Delta go a lap down, only 6 teams remaining on the lead lap.
So likely this is these riders' last lap, so you're leaving it all out there. You're playing all your cards, you're throwing it on the table, and you're saying, all right, this is what I got.
So here comes the lead group, SAE, looking for their first win since 1963.
It's a long time without a title.
9 to go as Black Key Bulls in second. Third place Cutters, fourth place Delts.
They're going to have to find a way.
3PH has fallen off the pace a little bit in fifth.
They're going to have to find a way for Andy Krahulik to get some separation right now. You'd think that Joe Krahulik's the one who finishes out for SAE. Look for him to burn out in one of these laps coming up to give Joe an opportunity. Again, the winner of ITTs, the winner of missing out. A very similar storyline to yesterday in Tabitha Sherwood. We'll see if Joe Krahulik can repeat that success.
All right, so for Delts, they just put Luke Tormelon on the bike. He had about a straightaway lead that he just brought down in no time at all. So the question is, could Delts 2-3-4 get Luke there at the end? And the answer is yes. Luke Tormelon's here at the end of the bike, and he's got some of the best top-end speed in this field.
BKB and Cutters going with an exchange as BKB has an advantage over Cutters, and 3PH has fallen quite a bit back as even with the exchanges, they are still behind in fifth place. 193 coming around next time.
So I believe this is Andy Krahulik on the bike, and then Luke Tormelon in second place, and then we have Nick Hartman of Black Key Bulls, who's their likely finisher, as Cutters has a little bit of a separation. And I'm not sure if they're going to exchange or not, but they need to get this Cutter rider. It's time for him to exchange because he's losing ground quickly.
That is Logan Kuhn on the bike, the senior in his second race out of Auburn, Illinois.
Looks like the coaching staff's telling him you got to go get him if Cutters is going to have a chance to finish this one out.
3PH has really fallen back now.
So the leaders
more than a straightaway behind.
Looks like they burned all their matches early on trying to get themselves in position. Not going to have the steam to be able to hang with the top of the pack.
All right, here we go. 6 laps remaining. SAE, Delt, and then BKB. Cutters trying to catch up with Logan Kuhn.
Logan Kuhn wants to come off the bike right now. His shoulders are swaying, his head's bobbing. He's ridden a really good set so far, but he says it's time to get out, and his coaching staff says, no, go get him, and they made the correct call because Logan's made contact. So my guess is Logan is not the finisher. My guess is Logan's going to exchange to Nick Theory, who's going to give him with probably about 4 laps to go.
Nick Theory's going to have a chance for redemption. Last year he was right there with the leaders, 2 laps to go, even 1 lap to go. Just faded away at the end, surprising everybody. Theory, one of the most powerful riders in this entire field. If they could get him there, it's going to be a great sprint finish.
All right, Andy Krahulik to his brother Joe Krahulik. This is what we expected. All right, so Black Key Bulls is on the front. They got a little bit of a gap. Tormelon's glued to the wheel. And they're not making a move. They know it's going to come down to sprint right now, so they don't want to expend their energy when they know it's going to be a sprint on lap 200.
Here comes SAE down the backstretch. We're going to come to 4 laps to go in the 2016 Men's Little 500 here on WIUX and broadcast.iu.edu. Thank you so much for tuning in or listening. Here comes BKB with the lead. Delta Todd Delta in second.
All right,
Cutters in third and SAE in fourth.
The riders are basically crawling right now. I think they're doing about 42-second laps. No one wants to lead. What's the purpose of using up all your energy right now when it's going to be a sprint? So what's going to be critical to watch here is positioning. As you enter the final lap, having the first, second, or third position is very, very important. If you're in 4th position, you have very little chance of winning. So as these riders jockey for position, that's where the race is going to be won. What position you are entering the final lap, as Nick Hartman's leading it out. So I'm not sure if he's trying to protect that position, and he's not going to give it up. But Joe Krahulik's trying to pass him on the inside, but I don't think there's space for him to pass. As Nick goes over and says, nope, that's my position.
So here comes Cutters for an exchange. Except it's going to be next lap. It's going to be next lap.
Cutters' coach is not happy there. It looks like they want that exchange to happen on this lap. They didn't get it. They want to get it into the hands, it looks like, of Nick Theory waiting to get this transfer. Logan Kuhn looks like he's on the bike right now.
Yep. So I
Cutters
think
to the outside. Coming around to 2 laps to go. Black Key Bulls with the lead into turn number 3.
I'm not sure why Nick Hartman's accelerating right now, because I don't think he realizes that Logan is trying to burn in exchange. He thinks he's trying to take over his position that Nick Hartman is trying to protect.
Here we go, 2 laps to go. Black Key Bulls, SAE, and then Delta Todd Delta as Cutters falls behind, and it's actually not going to be Nick. It's going to be Eric Schwedlin. Eric Schwedlin on the bike.
And he's got a gap to make up. He did not get good separation there. He might be out of the sprint. Oh, geez. Joe Krahulik just took the inside position. Luke Tormelon comes up on the outside. Nick Hartman's in third.
It might be a 3-man sprint as Cutters falls behind once again, trying to make it up. pedaling so hard as they come around to the white flag. White flag in the air. It's a three-man race. Here they come around, 3 wide, 1 lap to go. BKB on the outside. Final lap of the 2016 Little 500 SAE on the inside. Delt on the outside. BKB takes the lead into turn number 2 with the white jerseys. They were winners in 2014. Can they win it this year? Delt coming around on the outside. Luke Tormelin takes a 2-bike advantage as they head towards turn number 3. SAE on the outside. Tormelin with the lead. Here they come. Luke Tormelin around the final turn. Can they catch him? They cannot. It's going to be Delta Taw Delta, the winners of the 2016 Men's Little 500. Luke Tormelin, the senior out of Seymour, Indiana, takes the victory.
Incredible performance there from Luke. Like we said all race long, if Delts wanted a chance, Luke was going to have to eat up so many laps for them all day long. We wondered if he would have the stamina to be able to do it in a sprint. And yes, he did. Masterful performance there in a 3-team sprint. Delts takes it home.
I don't even know how many laps Luke did. That was amazing. He put 2 bike links on, 2 of the fastest guys in the field. He played his cards perfectly and waited to the end. That's as impressive as a last lap as I've ever seen.
Fantastic job there, especially with Joker Hulick, arguably the best sprinter in the entire field, right on his back wheel, unable to get there. Luke made his move at the perfect time. Not only does Luke have the power, Luke, a very crafty rider, showed off his prowess in every way possible there on that last lap.
I'm looking at Race Monitor right now. Delta Taw Delta's fastest lap of the entire race, it was lap 200. He did it in 30.5. Wow. SAE did a 30.5 also, or 30.1 last lap. But wow, that's all I can say. That was excellent coaching by Courtney Bishop. Incredible implementation by that whole Delts team. Their 2, 3, 4 rider, they all really stepped up, and that's a team win. Luke Tormelin is the story of the day, but that's a team win.
A remarkable win for Delta Taw Delta, their second Little 500. They finished 6th last year. They won in 2012. As their riders, Griffin Casey, William Lussenhop, Jack Moore, and of course Luke Tormelin, 3rd and missing out, 2nd in ITTs, and now a Little 500 champion.
Also even more impressive, 3 Little 5 rookies on the Delt squad, and when you look at their ITT positioning, Luke obviously coming in 2nd in ITTs, but then when you look beyond that, Griffin Casey at 38, Will at 71, Jack Moore at 100, and they were all able to get it done. 4 guys barely coming into the top 100, and Delts finding a way to get it done. Like you said, fantastic job there by Courtney Bishop. Thought of as one of the loudest, biggest personalities in the race. And I'm sure you're going to be hearing from him a lot in victory.
All right, I'm looking at the front stretch there, and SAE, they're disappointed, but they just locked arms as teammates, and they took a bow to the crowd, and they're getting a standing ovation from their fans. They rode a great race, as did Black Key Bulls and Cutters.
As the Delts fan section coming onto the track, into the infield, celebrating with their team. And once Delts gets a little bit closer to the stage, we hope to get an interview with one of their riders as they are dogpiling out in the infield. It is a party.
This might be the most bro thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, wow. Fratapalooza going on down there on the infield. Great job, though, by Delts. Every reason to celebrate this victory.
As we get a look.
I see bros on bros on bros.
So many basketball jerseys from the 1990s now parading, the riders being lifted up into the air. Again, every reason to celebrate an incredible ride from the young men of Delta Tau Delta.
As they are the winners of the 2016 Men's Little 500, as we will take you through the full field rundown here in the press box. Sam Rumsa along with Kevin Hahn to my left, and to my right, Spencer Gomez. Or Stephen Gomez, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Sorry about that.
It's all right, bro.
Delta Taw Delta, your winners. Sigma Alpha Epsilon in 2nd, Black Key Bulls 3rd. Cutters, the pole sitter, finishes in 4th. 3PH in 5th, the final team on the lead lap. Gray Coat is in 6th, Beta Theta Pi 7th, Phi Delta Theta 8th, Sigma Nu in 9th, Forest Cycling in 10th, Fiji 11th, Sigma Chi 12th, Sigma Phi Epsilon 13th, Wright in 14th, and Delta Chi in 15th. Pi Kappa Alpha, the 7th place starter, finishes 16th with Theta Chi in 17th. Lambda Chi Alpha, CSF, and Acacia round out your top 20. And as we wrap up that top 20 rundown, we will send it down to the field, as I believe we've got Pam with an interview. Pam, take it away.
Will Lussenhop, Jack Moore, Griffin Casey did an amazing job.
And we're missing Luke Tormelon, the guy at the end that just blew everyone away in the sprint. He's getting surrounded by all of his fans. We can't find him now. Can you tell us a little bit about how that race felt and what were you expecting?
Sorry, what?
How does it feel to be
Good.
How did that race go for you guys? Is this what you were planning?
Honestly, yeah, when it came down to it, we have the best sprinter in the field, and we knew as long as we're on the lead lap that he would run home for us. There was no question in our mind. That race ran perfectly for us.
Luke, we have trouble finding you. Your fans are swarming you. How does it feel to be a Little 500 champion?
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
What a sprint at the end. You just blew them away.
That's what we wanted. My team put me in position. I told them I'd deliver, and I got the job done. It's great. I love this team, and I love this program.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We'd like to take this opportunity to
And Courtney, how does this team compare to the other team championship team that you had?
You know, every team's really unique. The thing about this team is that they're so young. They have zero experience really outside of Tormel. When we lose Vashino, which we think is the second best rider on campus, it's hard to recover, but they believe. And when you believe, you can achieve. We did a great job.
You guys were a bit under the radar this year. You know, people didn't talk about you as much. Were you expecting to win? Did you know people just didn't know? Oh, he's getting the ring early. He's getting the ring.
Internally, we always expected to win. Ever since the fall, people were counting us out. We have 2 quotes on our board in the bike room. They said, Delts won't be contenders on race day. And they said, I'm not worried about Delts. And we used that underdog mentality to get the W today.
Well, congratulations. That was a perfectly executed race. Nice job.
Thank you, thank you.
I love that guy. I love him. We're great. Thank you, Pam. And I want to thank the IU Student Foundation, Indiana University. It's a tremendous event. It's an immortal event. So we just love it. Thank you.
Well, that's it. Delta Town Delta, this year's champions.
Spencer Brock.
All right, thank you, Pam, for that exciting interview with Luke Tormelon as well as their coach, Courtney Bishop. Courtney, one of the loudest guys, in the pit box, and a really energetic coach for them.
Absolutely, he's a figure in Little 500. Yeah, former coach of Team Major Taylor. Courtney hadn't won the race until 2012. He could never get the monkey off his back, and he finally put it away in 2012 with R.J. Stewart, and he gets his second win today. I wouldn't say it was totally unexpected, but sort of a bit of an underdog, and a very impressive race by the coaching, the implementation, and everything.
On top of that, Griffin Casey, just a freshman, and outside of Luke, the other 2 were sophomores. Delts brings back a lot of firepower for next year. Definitely going to be one of the favorites looking into the 2017 running of the Little 500.
Already thinking ahead to next year as we round out the final few teams for you. Alpha Sigma Phi in 21st, 22nd Phi Kappa Sigma, Pi Lambda Phi in 23rd, Pi Kappa Phi in 24th, and Alpha Epsilon Pi in 25th. Sigma Alpha Mu in 26th, Phi Sigma Kappa 27th, Beta Sigma Psi 28th, Young Pioneer 29th, Young Life in 30th, Delta Sigma Pi 29 laps down in 31st, Tau Kappa Epsilon in 32nd, and Zeta Beta Tau, rounding out the final team at 33rd. Just a remarkable string of races this year, guys.
Fantastic, both on the men's and women's side. All you can ask for is clean conditions and a fair race. We saw that. We didn't see too many crashes take teams out of either race, so really a fantastic job there. And we saw really the strongest riders expected come out on top. It was Tabitha Sherwood in the women's race and in the men's race. Luke was always thought of as one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the field. He was able to get it done for Delts. The teammates gave them a chance, and they came through and finished it out. So really a fantastic race on both the men's and women's side. Wouldn't you say, Gomez?
Absolutely. I think when we're going to look back at this race, I think the catalyst to the end was when Cutters made a move at 160. They blew it open. They eliminated a lot of teams, and they brought it back down to about 5 teams. From that point, there was the lead group, and teams were slowly eliminated, and it came down to sprint finish.
As we see Delts raising up the trophy right now, getting a little kiss from each one of the members. Got to be a sweet victory for Delts. In so many years, they've been thought of as one of the proverbial favorites, one of the powers, and a lot of people, like Luke was saying, thought that Delts wouldn't necessarily be in it at the end this year. It's got to feel sweet to have that bulletin board material, think about that all the time, be able to prove it wrong in the race itself.
Delta Todd Delta lifting their bike up in the air, as well as the Borg Warner Trophy, modeled after the Indianapolis 500 Trophy. Indianapolis, of course, 500 coming up in May, the 100th running of that great race. Very excited for that, as this race very much modeled after that, with 11 rows of 3, 200 laps, resulting in 50 miles here in Bloomington. Delta Todd Delta, your winners of the 2016 Little 500. For everybody, the whole crew here at Hardpin Media and WIOX, we thank you so much for tuning in over the past few days. A lot of hard work went into this broadcast. We really appreciate you either listening or tuning in, whether it's on the IUSF or IU website, broadcast.iu.edu, or WIOX.org. Guys, your final thoughts before we wrap it up.
An impressive individual and team victory, a great race, mostly a clean race, and this will be one for the ages.
One of the takeaways for me, SAE, a tough as nails race, especially after going down early, to be able to get back and get in that last group. They'll be a force next year. BKB will be a force, so will Delt. So those final three, expect all of them to be back next year.
It's a party down on the center track behind us, and that's going to do it. From the press box here at Bill Armstrong Stadium for the rest of the crew, I'm Sam Rumsa. Thank you so much for tuning in to this, the 66th edition of the Men's Little 500. Delta Todd Delta, your winner today.